All right, I'll be up in just 1 minute. Yes. One more piece of software. It's always one more piece of software.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
Captain's log. I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head.
Looking around here, I can tell you're a genuinely dirty person.
It's good to be the king.
Groovy.
All right, let's get started. Let's see if my buttons work. They do. Hey, look at that. Now let's see if I can fade the music down. Oh, there we go. Start of a show. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. I'm Hal Sparks, and I will be continuing to be Hal Sparks for the foreseeable future as your Hal Sparks needs need to be met. And I will do my best to Hal Sparks as Hal Sparks only can Hal Sparks. I'm Hal Sparks, also Hal Sparks. See the name Hal Sparks? Now the name Hal Sparks is stuck in your head, especially if you are a maggot troll. Which, by the way, I don't want you to get the impression we don't want you here. Absolutely not. We want you to be here because no one pushes us out into the algorithms as much as you do. So, round of applause. The chat room, let's see if the chat room works. Hello, chat. Look at that. Look at that, chat room. Hi. Welcome to the show, everybody. You lovely folks. That's right. It's Hal Sparks. It's true. Cool shirt. My mom works at the Space Center, Houston. I think that's maybe where I got this one. It's hard to tell because they have a lot of them all over the place, and I've been to all those places. So, hello. Almost looking a bit like Zorro. Okay, I'll take that. That's not a bad thing. As long as it's the Antonio Banderas Zorro, you know what I'm saying to you, is fantastic. Forgetting about it, but also knowing something while I'm being slick and sexy. Very good. As opposed to the whatever air variant versions of the 80s versions of Zorro, which were a bit am I really Hal Sparks? Yeah, I really am. Yeah. So lots to cover today. let me tell you, but I want to first welcome all the trollage and tell the folks that aren't trolls, well, screw it, the trolls too. Ring the dinner bell, shall you? Just share the show, will you? We're on Substack, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube and Facebook, and what's the other one? Where else are we? There's one more place. We're on, Twitch, of course, but Rumble. Yeah, nobody's on Rumble. But, it's fun to be there. Just to be maybe all the people who are, stumbling around looking for Rusty Trombone or any of those guys. And they're like, hey, what those guys talking about? And then I destroy their worldview. It's not a bad thing. It's a good goal to have. Apparently, I'm never at any point going to make it onto that Australian ladies, lefties losing it show. Sky News, how come I never make the cut? Why is that? How come you never show the things I get upset about? Maybe it's because, technically speaking, you're upset about them too, but you can't say so because you might offend Trump, and you don't want to offend him while you're getting a suntan from his ass because you know how he gets when he's upset. Incontinent. Come on, it's happened to you before. I don't know who Dan Vesk is. I'm sorry. Somebody keeps saying that. I don't know who that is. I'm sure he's a handsome fella. I'm good at the accent. Mainly, I'm doing it just to irritate the lady on lefties losing it on the Australian network on Sky, I guess, in Australia. She's a big fan of showing off like left-wing extremists and painting all Democrats as such. Yeah. So now there's been some upsetting news, ladies and gentlemen. Now I told you about this clip earlier. I brought this clip up during the morning show. And when I was talking to the lovely and talented Tara Dublin, who does indeed rock. And I mentioned the fact, and I've got some stuff about the Chinese population stuff that I want to show you in a little bit as well, that just seems to be reinforcing the fact that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Do you mind? All right, anyway. So let's get straight into this, shall we? I know it's Glenn Beck, but work with me on this. So Glenn, they are now calling the shit the bed moment with the Epstein files last week. They're now calling that Binder Gate. Okay, so can I just say for the record, it is the right who has officially named one of Trump's scandals a gate of sorts. Watergate, then Whitewatergate, which was kind of an ironic and funny kind of a thing. And then, I don't know, fucking tan suit gate and whatever. Now they when they get really lazy with it. But Binder Gate is their name, not ours, not mine. I didn't put this shit out there. But officially, I think that that's an important line to cross, an important, barrier to break, is that the first scandal with a gate suffix attached to Trump this time around in his second term was created by the right wing. The bloviated, flappy fart wing, whatever you want. But they're calling it Binder Gate. Now, why are they calling it Binder Gate? Because when a bunch of right wing influencers were invited to the White House, including one of the hosts on The Blaze, they were given a binder while they were there, like, hey, come in, we're going to give you the secret inside Epstein stuff. And they were brought into the Oval, literally, and handed a binder full of shit. Hold on, let me see if I can find a picture of this, because it's pretty spectacular. Let's see, I don't know, DC Drano, whatever that guy, binder, White House. There'll be a picture. Sorry, yeah, there. Here we go. Yep, there we go. So this is the picture of them. This is them walking out of the place. Go away, shoo. Go away, Ed. Stop it. Anyways, you get the point. This is the Hindustan Times. Yeah, here's the X thing of it, whatever. This is them walking out of the place, carrying their little binders. There's Liz Wheeler on the right. They're holding them up. Look at us. We're holding up our binders. Okay, so hence Bindergate. Okay, now you guys know and you get where I'm going with this. Okay, so we didn't name it Bindergate. They did. They were all feeling suckered by all of, by Trump's DOJ head, Pam Bondi, basically using them is the idea that they use these dipshit right-wing influencers as to lay ground cover for Trump. See, we gave them the first access. If you don't get it, bitch at them. Right? Okay. So this is it. And it's official. Whoops, hold on. Let me scroll this up so you guys can see it. 5 theories to explain the Epstein files Bindergate, in quotes. What really happened with the Epstein files phase 1 binder controversy at the White House? Glenn lays out 5 theories that could explain why the full files were. Was Trump or someone in the administration protecting friends who are on the list? Friends who are on the list? Fuck are you talking about? Trump is on the list, dummy. Did deep state agents and the FBI and SDNY actively withhold the documents, as Attorney General Bondi claimed? Well, no, because she said she already had them in her possession and had already looked at them. So how could they withhold them if she's got them on her desk? I'm sorry, is there some part of it where she said, oh, by the way, I've seen them, and as soon as SDNY releases them, you guys will too? Is that what she said? That's not at all what she said, kids. As a matter of fact, fuck it. Before we even dump into this shit, if I may, let me go into this. I think she was on Jesse Waters, right? Okay. Pam Bondi, Jesse Water on the brain. Let's see. Demands not okay. Let's see. 1 month ago for Attorney General reveals when the oh yeah, here we go. So this is it.
Attorney General Pam Bondi is here now.
She is here now. She is not going to be here tomorrow if the SDNY allows her to be here. She is currently at the place. Okay. You'll see where I'm going with this.
I can't even remember if I've congratulated you on your confirmation. Have I? If I haven't, congratulations.
Thank you. Only through text.
Okay,
so this
only
is the first
through
time in
text.
person. Thank you.
Sorry. So this is the point you choose to reveal that you and a Fox News host, as the head of the DOJ, you and a Fox News host text each other? You're just going to drop that shit? Great. Nothing weird about that at all. I trust that when they discover this asshole is up to something sketchy, you'll be the first to text him, don't look out your window right now, SWAT team, right? I'm sure.
Big cabinet meeting today. What happened that we don't know about when the cameras weren't rolling?
What happened? What happened? All right, sure.
Once the hour-long press conference, they throw every question in the world at Donald Trump, and look how he answers. He's amazing, and he just keeps going and going and going, and he knows more than all of the media put together.
No, he doesn't, and no, he doesn't. He actually handed it off to somebody else. Most of the time that was spoken was taken up with either prayers or other people talking. No, he did not answer every question. As a matter of fact, he repeated blather from the campaigns, which is he can do like as muscle memory because he clearly doesn't have brains. So obviously there's a tendon holding his ears together, and that some of this stuff is lodged in there. He doesn't actually answer any of these issues. He knows how to. Here's the thing. All this proves is either she's a liar and she's comfortable with lying, or she's so stupid she thinks what he says is an answer, which I'm afraid is actually the truth. Oh, wait, sorry. I move this. I don't know why that's...
And so then once they finally left, we got down to business and we went around the room, and the president just basically asked a lot of us what was going on within our departments. And, what you showed from Marco earlier is so true. We all have known each other, the majority of us, for so long, and we're friends. And that's what makes a difference. Jesse, we pick up the phone. We're on the phone with each other constantly, all.
Yeah, chit-chatting about your family shit and all that kind of... Yeah, yes, you are wasting everyone's fucking time.
Us on every issue you've talked about already in your monologue, and others almost daily. We talk constantly at the cabinet level, and that's why...
Right, because you're all cabinet members. That doesn't mean you're talking about cabinet level topics. You don't get points for going, you know what the fuck he's talking about? I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. How are we supposed to do that? We can't legally. Well, should we try anyways? Of course, or he'll freak out. All right. You want to break the law first, or shall I? By the way, how's the kids? Have you talked to Jesse Waters lately? He texts me all the fucking time, and it's creepy. I don't have the guts to tell him to fuck off. Me neither. I mean, he's sort of the new Tucker without a bow tie. Did we lose the old Tucker? Yeah. I mean, the dude won't even speak English anymore. It's all Russian or nothing.
Getting things done so fast for Donald Trump and to make America great again. You know, I got to talk about today 2 big drug arrests that we made yesterday through the FBI, and I'm so happy I have Kash Patel in there, by the way. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness we didn't dismantle and defund the entire FBI from day one, because those guys managed to catch somebody they've been looking at for a long time.
But we made a huge meth arrest, methamphetamine in Wyoming, hundreds of pounds of methamphetamine. Arkansas yesterday.
Methamphetamine? I'm sorry, is that the Italian recipe?
Methamphetamine in Wyoming, hundreds.
Hold on.
Goodness. But we made a huge meth arrest, methamphetamine in Wyoming, hundreds of pounds of methamphetamine.
We got these are the greatest. That's a spicy methamphetamine. Methamphetamine. It's not, there's no methamphetamine. You know, this is the kind of methamphetamine. It's good because it comes in, you know, the garlic is a slice so thin you can see through it like onion skin of paper. And then you add the sauce. Oh, the sauce.
Saw yesterday 100 pounds of methamphetamine. Think
100 pounds of a methamphetamine. It's fantastic in Wyoming. It's, well, in all fairness, everything's bigger in Wyoming. The steaks, the meth.
how many people that can kill. And they lace that stuff. They lace the meth with fentanyl. So we're out there fighting every day.
They do? No, you can. It does sometimes, but that's not the standard recipe for meth. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Excuse me. I'm talking about methamphetamine. Maybe methamphetamine is the technical term for any meth that is laced with the fentanyl. The fentanyl. The fentanyl. That's a spicy fentanyl.
To save lives domestically and internationally.
One of the things a lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is
that's right, I do. Look at that. You said last week you have the Epstein files on your desk. I do. Check that. Let's listen to that again. Remember Bindergate. We'll get to it in a moment.
People are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are...
She said I do twice. You have them on your desk? I do. I do. What's taking so long?
Well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have... Well,
I got to tell you, it's the depth of the victimhood that's important, not the number of victims. It is terrible that it's that many. But what was done to them is the real horrifying part, not the fact that it was like if you added 12 more, it wouldn't make the violence against the other people less horrible. Dipshit.
over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected.
Yeah, that's all. Okay, that's it. She's got the evidence on her desk. I do. She said it twice. And they're going to release it. And they've just got to redact the victims' names. That's what's coming out. Okay, great. Fabulous. That's all we need to know from that. That's because we saw some of that like last week. Now, let's go back to 5 theories explaining the Epstein files Bindergate. Now, one of them is obviously that she didn't actually have it on her desk and she was bullshitting everyone from day one and whatever. Okay, here we go.
Bergier,
Oh, wait. Burger Bergier.
Jason Buttrill, head of research, is in here. Stu Bergier, our executive producer for the radio program.
Okay, the guy he's talking to that isn't Stu used to work for the DOD or something. Used to be like, it's kind of like everybody's having on that dude who allegedly is in the CIA who looks like he's the fill-in bass player for Rage Against the Machine. You seen that asshole? Okay. Which again, like, if you're really a CIA agent and you're like, I quit, now I can tell you the truth. I'm like, well, how do I know you really quit? And how do I know this is really the truth? Maybe you still work for them and this is the job they've given you because bullshitting right-wingers is a great skill of yours. I don't know. Anyways, so the dude that you'll see him in a minute. If a left-wing broadcast of any sort, if a Democratic broadcast, if one of my producers was a dude who used to work at the CIA or the Pentagon or the DOD, the right wing would just go, "See, I told you so." They're completely spoken for by the derp state and blah blah blah. Right? Abso-fucking-lutely. Secondly, the Stu, I had no idea Stu had such an important gig that he's the executive producer of the radio program. I thought Stu was just there to rein in Glenn's stupid to a saleable level of stupid so they could continue to sell, I don't know, the Scientology balance of nature pills. Oh my gosh, Colleen, love you. Thank you so much. Offer Lent. You're going to keep your mouth shut. Oh, that's sweet. You don't have to do that. There's other things you can give up for Lent. I'll make you a list.
And I talked till I was blue in the face today, outlining treason, because I think by the way, we saw that piece where he read his little diatribe that SDNY is committing treason. Or are they? Being told is happening in the Southern District of New York with the FBI. That is treason, and it should be treated as that. Constitutionally, listen to that case. You can hear it if you missed it. Just grab the podcast wherever you get your podcast today.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. Here's what I would say: is if he makes the case in that it's treasonous if SDNY is withholding these documents the way Pam Bondi says. And the way you can tell it's actually treason and that real America first people are running things in the DOJ finally, right? Finally. The way you can tell is there are going to be arrests, that they're going to walk into the SDNY office and they're going to be arresting FBI agents who are covering for Jeffrey Epstein. It's going to happen. It didn't happen. So none of it occurred. So maybe it's not treason at their level. Maybe she's lying. Something like that. Perhaps. Okay.
We're talking about the options, the different options.
What could explain this?
That could explain what happened.
I have one. I know. Hey, dickhead. I got a good idea. I know exactly what it is. Donald Trump is on the flight logs more than any other person you message about around this. Anybody Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, any of the other Mr. Bill, it doesn't matter. More than any of those guys, Donald Trump spent time with Jeffrey Epstein. He is the number one comrade, wingman, running buddy of Jeffrey Epstein, period, end of story. That's why. I don't want to, we don't want to bury the lead. That's exactly why. That is exactly why. Donald Trump was on the plane. He said he never was. Then we found out 3 times, then 7 times, now 8 times. We're not even counting the times Epstein was on his plane. He was introduced by the girlfriend he was dating before Melania and his little side piece he had with Melania by Epstein. He was introduced arguably to Melania by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. He was involved in this like modeling thing where they were bringing these 15-year-old girls over and having them go out on these like boat trips, in New York with these fucking old men and shit like that. Fuck off. Just fuck off with this. Oh, people are like, the modeling thing? Hold on. Yeah, I remember the other guy. Let's see. Go away. Dirk. Okay. Here it is. Did Miami-based modeling agency fuel Jeffrey Epstein's machine of abuse? The yellow sign for MC2 modeling agency still posted at the second floor window overlooking Lincoln Road. It's an echo of a modeling mecca years when South Beach was like walking to a Calvin Klein underwear ad with head-turning men and women on every corner. Photo crews, the office has been locked for 2 years, tenants say, and the parade of aspiring cover girls has ceased. Here, Jeffrey Epstein and Jean-Luc Brunel created the boutique firm MC2 years before Epstein's arrest on charge of sex trafficking minors. What better pipeline than a modeling agency to recruit young girls dreaming of a glamorous career and Brunel launched the careers of famous models for 40 years in Paris, New York, and Miami, placing them on Vogue covers. Epstein's obsession for sex with young women and knew that the men who ran the fashion industry could take advantage of women and girls whose faces sold the clothes and Epstein, who financed Brunel's MC2 investment with $1 million line of credit, died at age 66 in a Manhattan jail cell August 10th while awaiting trial on sex trafficking, ruled a suicide by hanging, blah, blah, blah. And has led prosecutors to look at others in his orbit who are considered his enablers, which would include Brunel, 72. Let me assure you this case, that's attorney. Here you go. Let me assure you this case will continue on against anyone who is complicit with Epstein. Any co-conspirator should not rest easy, said William Barr, who arrested no one else after that period. End of story. Let's see. Brunel's whereabouts were unknown when FBI just delivered a subpoena seeking his testimony on MC2 in July. It's incredible. There's Nora Epstein is in prison. Joe Brock. He was a vile little garden gnome who forced himself on girls he is supposed to protect. So Brunel and Trump were friends. So 1 second. Let me go to Brunel, Trump. Let's see. Attention Insurance Associates deceased billionaire. Okay, these are all the same articles from the same zone. They kind of overlap. Let's full car inside range. Yeah, there you go. He's a lot of fun to be with. Inside Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's epic bromance. Beginning in the 80s, there they are. He introduced her to him. There's Ghislaine and blah, blah. He wished her well. Alan Dershowitz was on the plane a bunch of times. Let's see. Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. Trump fit right in. Epstein and Maxwell invited him everywhere, and Trump reciprocated at one highly selected party in 92. That was the one you've seen video of. No fewer than 28 attractive women were flown in to participate in a calendar girl competition as the entertainment. The organizer, George Horency, who ran American Dreams Enterprise, a small Florida company that staged a calendar girl contest and other events, was appalled to learn that there were only 2 male guests, Trump and Epstein. That's right. A party thrown at Mar-a-Lago with a bunch of models in a contest to compete, and the only 2 men that were invited were Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together. Just so you know. Okay. So, Donald, this is supposed to be a party with VIPs, Horency told Trump, according to the Times. You're telling me it's you and Epstein? I know Jeff really well. I can't have him going after younger girls. But Trump ignored Horency's really? Phew. Warning and plowed ahead anyway. Horency's longtime girlfriend Jill Harth later told the New York Times that Trump groped her nonstop at the business meeting around the same time. He was relentless. Put his hands up her skirt all the way to her crotch. I didn't know how to handle it. I would go away from him and say, I have to go to the restroom. It was just an escape route. Trump was often at the center of Maxwell's attention, and women who entered Trump's orbit sometimes ended up being associated with Trump and Epstein, spending part of their time living in Trump Tower condo and part in Florida at Mar-a-Lago or one of Epstein's homes. And again, Trump and Epstein have never lived in their main homes more than a 9-minute cab ride from each other's place. Trump could take a golf cart from either his Manhattan home or his West Palm Beach home and drive there and back, drive to Epstein's and back 20 times before he'd have to recharge the fucking thing or put fucking kerosene in it or whatever if he doesn't have electric golf carts. So that's why, okay? Fuck off with this. I can't imagine why. What's the fucking mystery? There we go.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start.
Oh, okay. By the way, this is the guy who allegedly used to work for the Department of Defense or something as a cryptographer or some shit like that. They put it up under his name. But again, if he worked on any other show, Alex Jones and fucking Glenn would be going, see, they've got a guy who worked in like, for the military tricking people working for them. That's what their show is. That's what they would say to you.
First one was
the first three were Trump is just protecting friends on his list or someone in the Trump administration.
0 on that one.
Yeah. So they don't believe that one. He's protecting his friends or someone on the list that's in his administration. I don't know, like fucking him. Of course, that's what he's doing. And they go, yeah, that's. He literally dismisses it out of hand.
Trump is just protecting friends on his list or someone in the Trump administration.
0 on that one.
Then you've
did you hear that? There's almost 0 on that one. It is literally Occam's razor. That is, well, figuratively, because Occam's razor is a figure. Anyways, of course, that's the obvious one. Of course, that's why they get it out of the way. Find something more incendiary so we can waste our time talking about it, because the first one is the obvious one.
Got the FBI is withholding documents. Essentially, the Pam Bondi story here is true.
Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, she told Jesse Waters she had the documents on her desk, and then she was shocked to find that what was given to the people in the binders was not the full story, and SDNY is not going to let her blah blah blah. Like, they're not letting her have the thing, and she can't blah blah blah. Right? That shit we saw before. That's the part, by the way, that caused Glenn to write a whole fucking monologue and do it on the show.
Like that, they're withholding documents. There is really crazy stuff out there, but the FBI is withholding it. That's why you don't have it. Okay.
Bullshit. Just bullshit. She's got Kash Patel's number. There's nothing that the SDNY office can keep from the head of the FBI or the head of the DOJ if they request it. Even they can review any case they want. There's no reason. And again, they're like, why? Because SDNY wants to protect Bill Gates? That's, well, you'll see.
Okay.
3 would be this is maybe the most, you're speculative on this one, but that this is sort of a plan.
Yes, this. I think this one might be my favorite one.
Is sort of a plan.
A useful, a useful. What was it? Never let a tragedy or a crisis go to waste.
Right?
This is a crisis that is useful.
Yeah, and there's
what? This is a useful crisis. Oh my God, Arizona Sunflowers. Thank you guys so much. By the way, thank you for the super chats today. It's a lovely thing. Bless you. It's almost unexpected, and I always forget to ask. Okay. Now, never let a crisis go to waste. I don't know what the fuck that means. Neither do they. I think what they mean is like, oh my God, we have this horrifying evidence. We should be able to use it to manipulate people or something.
Saying what we're going to do with that information is use this as a way to clean out that office in a way we couldn't necessarily get away with if they weren't hiding Epstein documents.
Oh, okay. Wait. All right, chat room, help me out with this. This is, fuck me. This is what I think they mean. The SDNY has these files. Somebody in the Trump administration or someone in there is saying, don't release the files. And Pam Bondi and her office they know they're not going to release the files. She bullshitted Jesse Waters on purpose to put pressure on SDNY so that people would have to step down. So because she knew they wouldn't release those files to her. Or that's what I mean. Lady Cab Driver, they're talking about the SDNY offices to get people fired from that. That seems to be the art. It's lunacy. It's so fucking weird. So to clarify, and maybe they clarify it better, I don't know. But the idea is that they know the SDNY won't release this shit. I don't know why they know this, but they won't, whatever. And they're putting pressure on SDNY to release these files, knowing they won't, to give Trump a good reason to fire everyone at SDNY. As if he needs one. Right? This, and also, wouldn't the people there just, I mean, they'd either have to be involved in it. I mean, I don't know. Does Alan Dershowitz and Rudy Giuliani clearly show up in the logs and the calls? Is that where the pressures come from? Anyways, like, makes zero fucking sense. But this is the biggest conspiracy I think they bring up.
Just a blanket, the FBI is withholding documents doesn't make sense with Kash Patel as the director because he's already
right. Uh-oh, the DOD dickhead is accidentally figuring it out.
Seen if we're going off of his statements, he's already seen it, he knows it, and he has vowed to release it. So
has she.
That's got to be knocked off.
But if they hold it, they may have moved.
Oh, watch. This is Glenn. Think how fucking desperate you have to be to defend Donald Trump clearly not wanting to release this stuff after he fucking said it on Fox.
His access to the information, they may have quartered it in New York.
No, she said she had it on her desk, and there's what do you think they're keeping it in a lock box? Lock box.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes towards point 3, right? Because if they know how New York...
Yeah, there you go. Hold on. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm not even showing you the screen. That's my bad. Former Department of Defense intelligence analyst, Jason Buttrill, who works at the Blaze as the senior researcher. Okay? Imagine if that name got dropped under somebody on fucking... I don't give a shit, Tom Hartman show or Steph's show or whatever. Like, hey, this is one of our guys. He works for us now, and he's a former Department of Defense intelligence analyst. What do you think the right would be doing? How do you think they would be fucking reacting to this? How do you think Alex Jones and all these dipshits would react if there was a former Department of Defense intelligence analyst who was the head researcher on any fucking Democrats radio show? Let's just start there. How about fuck off? Now, also 8H. I mean, I think 4H is great, but 8H, you're gonna have your whole arm up the cow's ass by lunchtime.
York's going to respond on this. That field office,
correct?
They're just pushing them into the corner to react how they know they're going to react.
Correct.
All right, let me give you a couple others, and these might be a little uncomfortable for our side. Okay, I'm putting that out there, but I think they should be.
But wait, no, they won't. No, they won't. Why would this be uncomfortable? You blazed right past the most obvious one at the beginning, which is Trump and Epstein were buddies for a quarter century. Shut up.
Considered here.
All right.
Okay. A combination, possibility number 4, a combination of incompetence and
you wish
a bunch of people in really high profile roles who say a lot of things on podcasts and Fox News that sound good on podcasts and Fox News, but don't necessarily have the actual backing of the facts.
Okay.
This one, I think, this leads into where Stu we're going to actually see, I think, what Stu actually believes here, which does not line up with maggot dump.
So, first of all, incompetence. I have not seen this administration act incompetently. So,
come on, man. That was literally your safest out. You haven't? Wait, what? Oh, so the turning the tariffs on, turning the tariffs off, and fucking the economy, and the watching Tesla stock crater because he let this asshole cut Ebola funding and funding for like childhood hunger in Africa on a fucking whim. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I view that as incompetence. He thinks that's a feature, not a bug. I get it. Okay. So to Glenn, it's not incompetence letting children starve to death. That's the gig.
It would be the first act of incompetence that I have seen, I think, of any no.
Really? 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 Okay. Well, hey, here's the thing. There's a little bit of a caveat in there that he's seen, which granted, he's wearing shit-colored glasses, so everything looks, gorgeous to him. So clearly, I guess points for finally seeing it. It doesn't mean that's the first thing that's happened. It's the first thing that Glenn has recognized as incompetence or would be recognized incompetent. Hey, whatever.
Vote in the first, what are we in?
I mean,
40 days.
There's bits and pieces, but I see what you're saying. Generally speaking,
this is a major problem if that was true. However,
go on.
Sorry, it's a major problem if it's just them being fuck ups. You do realize it's way worse if they're doing it on purpose, right? Sorry, it's better for your side. I don't want to help you out, but it's better for your side if they're incompetent in the releasing of the Jeffrey Epstein stuff and just fucked up. That's the best case scenario, dummy. It's not an improvement. You should pray for incompetence in this circumstance. You should go, oh, thank God. I think they just fucked up. I think it was a mistake. You should sell that 100 ways to Sunday because all the other alternatives are evil. So as to say, evil.
That. I don't know anybody in this administration that is part of this. That would be Kash Patel, J.D. Vance,
Pam Bondi,
president, and Pam Bondi.
The president. Yeah, that guy actually said on Fox News.
The only one I can't vouch for that would write checks with their mouth.
Well,
you know what I mean? That it can't be cashed is.
Your mouth's writing checks your ass can't cash. That's the colloquialism he's trying to find and can't because he can't say ass on his show. He can act like one. He can talk out of his, but he can't say.
Is Pam Bondi because because I don't know her. But doesn't mean she's like that. I just don't know her.
Again, I'm not saying I necessarily think this is the actual end of the story, but let me just push back on that gently. Mm-hmm. Kash Patel also said on day one he was going to close the FBI office and turn it into a museum for the deep state. As far as I know, it has not occurred. Right?
That's a Donald Trump thing.
And because you're saying it's a Donald
What do you mean? What do you mean that's a Donald Trump thing, motherfucker? It should make it even more so because Trump is the president.
Donald Trump thing, I must also bring up that Donald Trump also says a lot of things.
Yeah.
And he says things that sound great on podcasts, and sometimes they're negotiation tactics or whatever, but he often does that. There's a lot of overpromise.
Bullshits is what he means. He often bullshits. He's often lying.
From some of the people he's put in these positions. That is, I think, inarguable.
That would lead me to believe it's option 3.
That there is
a method behind the madness. When Donald Trump says those crazy things, usually because it's negotiating or positioning something that we don't understand.
Yes, even he doesn't understand. It's that it's so deep undercover. It's such a deep tactic. He's not even aware of what it means when he says it. It's just kind of magic.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's what number 3 is. This is a well-executed op that is made for people to think one thing, but it's actually setting up. It's like his negotiation for trade barriers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly it. Except he was closer to Jeffrey Epstein than he was with any of the countries we're negotiating trade with. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh my God! Can you? Did I tell you though? Did I tell you? Like the way, and this is an example of how everybody's talking about this shit. From fucking Tim Drool to all these guys, like they're all like fucking peanut butter dickhead. All these right wingers are all talking about this the exact same fucking way, and it's boiling down to the fact that they are facing that there are 5 potentials in this circumstance, and it's got to be one of them, because it can't be, and whatever one it is, it can't be number one, which is the most obvious one, that Donald Trump was friends with this motherfucker his whole life.
That's possible, right? Yeah. And what's interesting, I think, and you pointed out the incompetence, just to pause on that for a second. With the exception of number 3, which, to remind people, is this sort of idea, using this as a precursor to go into the deep state in this particular area.
A useful
Can you imagine trying this hard? Here's one. I got one. How about this? How about this? How about this? I'm just going to throw this out there, okay? Here you go. Stu, Glenn, Tim Drool, Jesse Water on the Brain, all you guys, scoot in. Come here, because I know you watch the show. You got at least one person on your staff watching my fucking show, because you know I articulate the counter to your idiotic fucking arguments better than anybody, and it scares the shit out of you, and you kind of hate watching me. I get it. Come here. There is no Hunter Biden laptop. Feel free to at me. Doesn't exist. The FBI doesn't have it because it was fake to start with. And if you show it, it's going to prove that it was fake from the beginning. And Trump and Kash Patel and all these motherfuckers are going to come out and they're going to wave something at you, but they're never going to let anybody look at it because it's bullshit. How about that? How about part of this is all fucking snow to cover Trump's relationship with Epstein, but also to cover the fact that there is no fucking Hunter Biden laptop. Where the fuck is it? Wouldn't that be the easiest fucking thing? Dummy. There's none. How about that? Feel free to at me. Let's go. Let's go. Throw it my way. I started that whole thing as almost a dare, and now it's evidently true.
Prices.
Yes. Every other option has to have incompetence included in it because of the way they sold it. She was on TV the night before saying it was going to be this dramatic thing. And then the next day she said, they didn't send me the documents. That's a terrible way to talk about that publicly. Correct. At the very least, it's bad messaging and bad press.
That is why I hesitate on any of this because, and I specifically say, I would think the weak link here would be Pam. A, because I don't know her, but B, I saw that live. I saw her say that live, and it felt weird. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
She didn't seem all that comfortable saying it. She felt, to me, just looking at her, she didn't feel
yeah, in retrospect. So what they're saying is, it's the chick. That's what it is. That's the problem. Trump really wants this stuff out. Even though he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a quarter century, and Epstein died on his watch. And oddly enough, the stuff that was seized when they arrested him on his watch has never seen the light of day. Right? Seem like, yeah. Possibly. Could be that the obvious is that Trump doesn't want this shit out. And maybe she's uncomfortable because she knows she's being manipulated and used by him to cover him while they use, limited releases of this stuff to attack his enemies.
Like, I know exactly what's coming here. It just felt like it was a big promise. It was the opposite of what you've told me 7 million times. Never overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That could be the name of this show, Glenn.
Yes.
Holy fuck. Well, then why are you not creating a bonfire of the Great Reset book? Didn't happen. Didn't happen during Biden. Isn't going to happen now. If the deep state and the Illuminati and the fucking lizard people have control of Nasara, Jassara, and the fucking any of that shit, any of it. If any of it was true at all, then why didn't your book come true? Because you overpromised and underdelivered, dummy. You lied. You're a liar. You fabricate stuff to scare your viewers to buy your prepper bullshit.
Always underpromise and overdeliver.
You never do what she just did.
Right. It's because it gets people pissed off.
Yep.
So that, again, I don't know that that's true, but I think that needs to be at least in the discussion here.
Right.
Hold on. No. No, it isn't. No, it doesn't. Let's clear something up also. she didn't overpromise and underdeliver, because that would at least allude to the possibility that there were things in a construction phase or in a developmental phase where stuff has to happen leading to another step that leads to another step, right? She said, I have the stuff on my desk. You're going to be disgusted. And all we have to do is protect the names of the victims and it'll go right out the door. That's not some part where we're still looking. We've got it all. And she says, we've got it all in our hands. Under delivering would be, we've got it all in our hands, except for a few pieces, and we're going to get them soon. We've got them. I mean, I know, there's an envelope on my desk, and I bet it's in there. And as soon as that's out, you're going to be the first to get it. That would be the under delivering. She's withholding shit if it's true. If she's got this shit and she's not handing it out, she's withholding it, fuckwad. That's not under delivering. That's aiding and abetting a child sex trafficker. That's what you're accusing her of. So put up or shut up.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, but she immediately deflected, because they knew there was going to be outrage on this, because this is one of our main issues on the base is the Epstein files.
Yes.
She immediately directed.
No, it isn't. No, it is not. Stop it. Stop all maggots, trolls, anybody watching the show. Fuck off with this nonsense. I don't want to hear that you guys give a shit about the Epstein files or the Epstein anything, because you would have not voted for Donald Trump just based on his interview with Fox about the release of the Epstein files. You'd have gone, wait a minute, what do you mean you're not going to? You'd have gone, oh, okay, no. You would have fucking, that would have been your Gaza. You would have fucking stayed home. Nonsense. Hornswoggle. Bullshit. Blather. Gibberish. You do not care. Stop it. If you cared at all, you would have never supported Trump, knowing how long his friendship with Epstein lasted, knowing how tight they were, reading the shit he's talked about Epstein and how much he liked him and all that stuff. Never. So don't even, just shut the fuck up. Please. No. You don't give a goddamn about Jeffrey Epstein and his victims. You don't. Quit it. Quit it. This guy, him, you guys, these three, they don't give a fuck. None of their viewers give a fuck. No maggots give a fuck. Nobody who voted for Trump gives a shit about the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Or they would have found some way to vote for DeSantis. Get the hell out of here.
All that rage towards one specific point, New York.
So
there's only two reasons to do that. Mm-hmm. One, to deflect,
which would work with the one I just described.
Incompetence.
But two, to set off point three.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think
true.
So they, and I don't understand the premise of this on one point. How do you force or the hand of SDNY by making them hand over stuff, right? And you know they're not going to do it. And you have access to those files on your own, which you could release yourself. So you lie on Fox, you lie to supporters, you bring in a bunch of these assholes, you hand them a fucking binder, and you just to fucking rug pull them on this stuff, on something that this asshole believes is important to all of them. Oh, look at that. My thanks is tough. Right? You're gonna use this to manipulate people, even though you have access to all this stuff, and everybody around you knows you should have access to all this stuff, and you're gonna send that rage towards SDNY. This is some of the stupidest shit I have ever heard on the blade, and that's saying a ton, because I've watched this dickhead talk about economics.
I'm hoping, because I don't know Pam, but I'm giving her the benefit. I mean, she was the Attorney General for Florida with
for a while,
with Ron DeSantis. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not an idiot when it comes to law. He's not going to have an idiot Attorney General.
So it's on purpose. That's it. She's not stupid. She's doing it on purpose.
But I tend to think it's number 3. Anyway,
Can I give you
one more?
Okay. Well, no, you don't. Fuck me. But no, you don't. You absolutely don't think it's number 3. None of you believe that this is a they're setting it up. She gave this stuff to these right-wing influencers so they'd be all mad, and so MAGA would attack DC Drano and Liz Wheeler and a bunch of other fuckwads, and Anna Paulina Luna would get angry and enraged to force SDNY to give over files that Pam Bondi said she already had on her desk. Get the fuck out of here. None of this makes any sense. And the only reason they want to believe 3 is because it's behind the scenes. Trump's own deep state is doing some sort of 5th dimension chess shit.
I have one more here. Okay. What if? Just throwing this.
Okay. And this is the part where I think Stu reveals that it was all bullshit, Joel.
Out here.
All right.
What if the truth is that not every famous person we know has sex with children? I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility. What if the Jeffrey Epstein story is a wide-ranging conspiracy of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew, several others doing all
Notice he doesn't mention Donald Trump.
sorts of terrible things, but maybe we kind of know all of it already. Maybe there isn't that much left for us to uncover, and we're not going to find.
Not with 250 victims.
Not with the CIA director going to meet him twice. I think that's kind of a big thing as well.
It's possible, but you don't think there's any, because we knew about what, 70 victims?
Yeah, but
also, I don't know which CIA director. Hold on. Let's check this out. Because, again, this is his defense analyst guy. Hold on. And Hector meets with Epstein, whatever. Including CIA Goldman's top lawyer. Okay, this is Wall Street Journal, so it's behind a paywall. William Burns, now director of the CIA, met with Epstein multiple times. This would be a private calendar. Revealed that the financier and convicted sex offender had meetings that were not previously reported with several prominent Americans, including current CIA director. That's what he's talking about. I don't know why he says twice, because it seems like there are more. So maybe he's talking about somebody else in particular. But here you go. Epstein had meetings scheduled with now director of the Central Intelligence Agency, William Burns, Obama's White House counsel, Catherine Rumler, BART President Leon Botstein, and Professor Noam Chomsky. Chomsky met with him a bunch of times and told everybody to go fuck themselves, basically, when they asked about it. None of these names appear in his black book. The meetings in question all occurred after Epstein had served jail time. Epstein had been accused of sexually abusing girls as young as 14. He reached a deal with prosecutors, namely somebody. By the way, Donald Trump appointed the guy, Acosta, who did the deal with him. Like, Jesus Christ. Burns met with Epstein in Washington, D.C. in 2014 when he was Deputy Secretary of State under Obama. The now CIA director also traveled to his townhouse in New York. Despite these meetings, the CIA spokesman asserted the pair had no relationship. Director did not know anything about him other than that he was introduced as an expert in the financial sector and offered general advice on transition to the private sector. Referencing Burns' departure from his role at the State Department. So he left, and Rumler had a much more extensive relationship with Epstein. The disgraced financier introduced her to potential legal clients, including Bill Gates. In 2014, Epstein called Rumler within weeks of her leaving the Obama White House, planning a lunch at his townhouse, following a series of meetings to introduce her to a wider side of the circle of acquaintances. Epstein and his staff discussed whether Rumler would be uncomfortable with the young women who worked as his assistants and staffers, according to documents reviewed by the Journal. Over the next 3 years, Rumler had more than 3 dozen appointments with Epstein. She was also scheduled to fly with him to Paris. In 2017, she planned to stop at St. Lucia to take her. He planned to take her to his island home in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Documents said Rumler, who now works at Goldman Sachs, said she regretted knowing Epstein. Spokesman for the financial firm said she never traveled with him. Botstein, the Bard College president, had 24 meetings scheduled with Epstein over 4 years, most of which were visits to his townhouse. And okay, so he was. The idea is that the Biden CIA director was transitioning to private life and met with him a couple of times. That's what he's talking about. And then later on, said, fuck that guy, or whatever. The director did not know anything about him other than he introduced as an expert to the financial services sector and offered general advice on transition to the private sector. Okay. That's what they're talking about. By the way, if we ever find out that any of these guys were involved with him and that was like a bullshit cover story, fuck them. Nobody cares. I can say that without any reservation whatsoever. Stu and Glenn and this other dickhead can't.
Or so that
Right.
just in the
But
initial
there's-
2018 reporting. So 250 is a high number, but it's
Right.
not
But we
absolutely absurd that that's the
all
number
we've
is.
heard is what he did. We have not necessarily heard what others have done.
Well, if you listen to Tara Dublin Rock, you'll have heard multiple times what Trump's accused of doing to underage girls. And beyond that, what Trump bragged about doing to Howard Stern. So, no, it's not just him. And we've heard about Prince Andrew, and we've heard them accuse others. Many of the time, they've accused a bunch of these like different people. Sometimes they get death threats and walk it back. Right? We've seen that a couple times. Dershowitz with Trump himself.
And
But we have heard a lot of that. I mean,
why
we've heard a lot
haven't they been prosecuted then?
Well,
because they're all, I don't know. Why did Trump hire Alan Dershowitz knowing what he knew about him and the fact they were both Epstein buddies to work on his impeachment?
you know, for example,
Did he have to? Maybe that's a thought. Maybe he doesn't like Dershowitz. Maybe he doesn't want to work with Dershowitz at all. Maybe he realizes Dershowitz is a fucking scumbag, but, you know, compromise is compromise.
people have been accused and they've withdrawn their accusations.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That.
Like, think about how central, again, to bring up someone, a friend of the program who's on here often, Alan Dershowitz was to this case.
Yeah, still is.
He was one of the guys who did all these things, according to the accusations. And then the girl, the woman now, who came out and said, who accused him all this time, said, maybe it wasn't him. Like, maybe a lot of these people that were tied into this had connections with him, but what really, we don't have videos of them having sex with 14-year-olds. Maybe that's not the reality.
I don't,
Now look at these guys, their discomfort. Now, Dershowitz is going to be on the show in days, no doubt. He'll be on in the next couple of weeks. Glenn will have him back on. Now, I don't know how many lawyers are there in this country. How many, let's see, how many law professors in the U.S.? Let's see. 7% of their full-time faculty in the last 5 years, 2017, joined around 700 people from 10,000 to 9,000. And partially replaced them with part-time, which increased from by about 300 at the time. So there's about 17,000 law professors in the United States. Why would you ever have to have the same person on twice? You can't tell me that every year that you have 365 days a year. Very seldom will you need to have a lawyer on to talk about something specific that you can't just get another pundit to talk about, right? There's 17,000 law professors in the country. You're going to tell me that 500 of them aren't telegenic and interesting and maybe even legally on your side in an argument? You can't find them? But somehow you got to keep going back to the fucking Dershowitz well over and fucking over again, even after even with all of his defenses, that he had a massage at Jeffrey Epstein's house. I got news for you, folks. If I'm at somebody's home and they go, "Would you like to go upstairs? We have a masseuse," I'm telling them to fuck off. Not because massages are bad, but why would I have one in the private home of anybody? And again, let me say, like, well, like if you were in Hawaii on some ridiculous giant resort style thing, and they go, oh, you go down on the beach, and we got this lady who comes on, and she's a chiropractor, and she rubs your shoulders and all that kind of stuff, and it's outside, and you're on the beach, right, and full view of everyone, right? That maybe that one, maybe that's it, okay? But upstairs in an Upper West Side building owned by Jeffrey Epstein that he paid $1 for, a $70 million building that he was gifted by one of his clients. Really? Just saying.
What? I find that more implausible, and this is saying something, because this is one that really just bothers me like crazy. I find that more implausible than we just didn't go to the moon. Wow. I mean, I think we just didn't go to the moon is more likely than that one.
Well, wait a minute. Come on. We have a ton of people are known. We know with incredible line-by-line detail of what this man did in multiple different areas, right? Like, we know a lot about this case. And the fact that we have not uncovered that Bill Gates did it,
where is anyone that went to jail other than those two?
I mean, I'd have to go back and look. I don't think there's been many. There's been not a lot of high-profile people, but that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe, just maybe, Jason, I know this is tough.
We staged the moon landing.
I know. Maybe, like
that. Think about this for a second. Yes, why is Glenn laughing? It's a great deflection tactic. I have not read Dr. 13. I've only read snippets of the new Michael Wolff book. It'll take me a week. I'm behind on a bunch of my reading right now. I'm on 3 books at the same time. This sort of like you'll hear a lot of times in debate tactics. There's the appeal to authority. Statistics say this, science says this, or whatever. And that is an example of an appeal to authority. In an argument, you go, it's not my argument. I'm telling you what the official thing is. And that's an appeal to authority. And it doesn't mean it's invalid, but that's what it is as a tactic. I've talked about I guess I would call it the perfection diversion, where you look, nobody's perfect. Anybody who throws that up is basically laying how fucked up they are on you. Nobody's perfect, meaning both of us in this circumstance. You did the worst part of it, so you're going, but nobody's perfect, meaning, you. Neither of us. You've got stuff. I'm appealing to this idea that I'm pretty sure you have stuff in your background you'd rather not people know. And so nobody's perfect. It might even constitute a threat. Nobody's perfect. I know things about you I could say here and you wouldn't like it. So give me a break on this, right? That's part of the appeal to perfection, or the perfection distraction. This would be what I call an appeal to absurdity. That you create an absurd parallel where if you believe what you just said and the facts that support it, I align it with something absurd and ridiculous, and therefore it automatically makes it sound like what you're talking about is equally absurd. Yes, well, excuse me, Mr. Perfect. I guess you never make a mistake.
And this is, by the way, the best option for all of us. I will point out.
It is.
The best option for all of us.
I did when you said it. I thought immediately moon landing. And then I thought to myself, wow, am I that jaded that I dismiss the happy option?
No, you're not. You are doing anything you can to avoid choice number 1, which is Donald Trump is protecting himself.
As no way.
Okay,
well, hold on. Let me finish my point real quick. Okay. Maybe it's possible that, wanting the desire to have sex with underage children is a little bit more rare than we believed. And that would be great information. Maybe not every rich and powerful person is doing this. And I know there's a lot invested in that theory. But to just go off on this for just a second, we have had multiple
Stu's
politicians.
name's on that list.
Did you hear this? By the way, Stu's name's on that list. That's what Glenn said.
We have had multiple
Stu's
politicians.
name's on that list. Go ahead. You were saying?
Multiple sides. By the way, as we've been told and talked about, when many of our people believe that Donald Trump, the ultimate truth teller on this stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
And he's been president twice through this period, and every time we're promised it, they can't come up with it. So
Right. Now, again, Stu is so fucking close. You're so close to it. And the dude who used to work as an intelligence analyst, who I guess he got tired of dealing with intelligence, and that's how he got a job at the Blaze. And Glenn, who is so fucking gross. If anybody undercuts his deep state bullshit, immediately they get thrown on the list too.
Good Lord. That there's some mass conspiracy hiding it, or maybe, just maybe, it's not there in the way that we believe it is. Maybe, just maybe, it's a little bit less sexy, and that's a weird word to use there, but salacious, I suppose, than...
that would be great.
It would be.
It would be great.
But it's a moon landing.
Yeah.
So again, I think it should be discussed. I'm not saying it's necessarily...
Well, let's, you know what? Let's just get onto the moon landing set, and we can talk about it.
I've seen that being floated around a lot, and especially yesterday on X. Really? I spent years doing actual intelligence operations. I'm going to go full on conspiracy here. I've seen how misinformation and disinformation works. I was...
Excuse me. No, you haven't. No, you don't get this motherfucker. Jason Butt. We'll just leave him at Butt. Butt Thrill. Butt Thrill. We'll go with Butt Thrill. No, you don't get to start talking about, how information and disinformation works. You're on a network that says it doesn't exist. That anybody fighting misinformation and disinformation or pushing back on it is a communist or a fucking left-wing lunatic or is trying to undermine patriotism. Shut the fuck up. You don't get to go, there's misinformation and disinformation. All Glenn and these assholes talk about all the time is that anybody who declares that there's any is clearly, on the take or whatever the fuck.
Warning people that...
So stupid.
Once information started coming out listing random names, like, oh my God, let's tie every single name to Epstein. That was a big up, in my opinion. Like, the fact that, like, she was not involved, but just the fact that, like, they're like, oh, look, Rihanna was at a party.
Right.
She's on the list. Well, no, she's not. I mean, she could be eventually. I don't know, but she's not on the list. Like,
more like
just,
a victim of it.
Just because she was there, or some random person was there.
Just because you're invited there, just because you flew on his plane, does not.
Whoa! Look at the look Stu is just giving Glenn. After Glenn just fucking said Stu's on the list, look at Stu's fucking face. Just because you flew on his plane,
not mean that you were part of that. However, the way he made that kind.
What? How many times? My rule is twice. He flies you somewhere and you can fly back. You might have discovered on the flight there and you're like, fuck this guy, and you get your own flight home. But then in other instances, you might fly back and go, yeah, we're not flying with that motherfucker again. That would be the max out as far as I'm concerned. At the very least, if it's a round trip, that's where it gets more worrisome. If it's an odd number of flights, which I think it was with Clinton, it's like 5 flights. It sounds like you got the 5th flight. You're like, yeah, we'll get our own ride back. Thanks, buddy. But even still, if it wasn't, fuck them. I don't care. Same thing with Trump. Trump, it's now 8. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Kind of into his bread and butter.
Have John Kirikow on. He's amazing. He's the CIA agent who blew the whole whistle on the torture program. I would love that. That'd be a great idea. Glenn's flown on the plane, I guess, is what he's going to tell everybody now.
Leads me to believe there are many more people involved.
Well, so in my opinion, that's a big distraction. That is to blow it up to make it look like it's this vast right-wing conspiracy and hide the fact of what was really going on. What was really going on? I don't know. But we know that members of the royal family were involved. We know
a member of the royal family was involved. We don't know members of the royal family were involved. We know one. Prince Andrew was buddies with him. Ostracized largely by the family. Brought back into the wing recently, but a lot of people just think he's skeevy as fuck. One. That doesn't mean like the royal family is coordinating with Epstein as an op to control people. That's the appeal to absurdity.
I'm going to say this again, that the CIA director, at least twice, went to meet with Jeffrey Epstein. He does not do that on some random dude that they've charged for a crime that didn't exist. Why would the CIA director meet with Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
That doesn't.
I don't know. Why was Trump friends with him for a quarter century?
Happen.
Yeah, no, I would agree. But it could be very well that they're looking at something, right? And there could be more. Like, let's say, Prince Andrew would be a pretty big thing for them to go look at. And we know, at least allegedly, he denies this, that he was involved in some of this stuff. Right. And there could be 5 other names, 10 other names. There could be Saudi Arabian kings. Who knows? Right. I'm just saying, like, maybe it's not where the biggest version
I think
of it
that would be great. Here's the only thing that I think we can walk away and say we know to be true.
Yeah, you're a jerk. I know what's coming. You're going to say I was involved in the list. I'm not even going to let you get away with it.
Stu was on the list. All right.
We see what's going on, Stu.
Yeah, so that's their joking way out of it. Those are the 5 reasons that he threw in there. Now, I don't know that.
All right, so here's what Pam Bondi said last night.
You said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk. When can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see hopefully tomorrow is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
What that man did. I think we're going to find out today, hopefully, that it wasn't just that man.
No, it was also Donald Trump. A lot of it was Donald Trump supporting it, financing it, surrounding him with, giving him clout, helping him raise money, spend money, that kind of stuff. I'm sorry. Is there a chat room? Let me bring you in here. Apparently, is there an issue with how I'm dealing with this? Do we have a maggot in there that thinks in the chat room that thinks there's another possibility beyond the fact that Trump was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a quarter century? Somebody, a maggot in particular of a special type, that would have to say that it would take them more than 20 years to figure out Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile if they hung out with him a lot. Because that has to be the argument you're making. It has to be the argument. Thank you, Jen. It has to be the argument, right? Maggots, how long would it take you? How long should it take a person to figure out Jeffrey Epstein's a pedophile? More than 5 years? More than 10 years? More than 12 years? 15, 17, 20, 22. 24 years you've known him, and it takes you another year to figure it out, and you still wish his girlfriend, when she goes to jail, your best. You hope you wish her well, even though she's going to jail for procuring teenage girls for this fucking monster? For real. And then Trump is president and the details don't come out. How's that work? He's president of the United States. He's been president. He's now for the second time. How many years is Donald Trump going to be president before these details come out? I'm going to go with all of them. However long Donald Trump lasts in this term, or the entirety of the next 4 years, that's how long it's going to be before all these details come out. Sorry, Anna Paulina Luna. Sorry, Laura Loomer. Tough shit. Doesn't matter. They aren't. You're not going to be able to like pressure him into doing it. He's not going to release any more of it than he has to. And we know, again, part of the files that have already been released show these lawsuits against Trump. Are there more of them? What if those are under seal because the victim died? Then what? Right? How long would it take you, maggots? How long? And again, I don't want to hear from any of these assholes that the Epstein files are a very important issue for them, because they clearly aren't. If they were, you'd have never voted for Trump in the first place. Please. Save it. Sell it to somebody else. Just go, I hate immigrants more than I worry about the victims of child sexual abuse or sex trafficking. Just say it. Say it's, maybe it's a NIMBY thing. You just, is there a LIMBY? Like, as long as it doesn't happen in my backyard, I'll a DIMBY, right? Hi, Gordon. Let me show you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Anna Paulina Luna, a Republican from Florida. Anna Paulina Luna, which has a very euphonic name. It's very fun to say. It's it'll purr your teeth, curl your hair, and give your tongue a sleigh ride. That's it. Anna Paulina Luna says, we want the truth. Unredacted Epstein files must be released, says Congresswoman. She and a couple others have been put in charge of releasing these things, and for some reason, they are being stonewalled by Pam Bondi or other people, and yet at the same time, I have no idea why they wouldn't be able to get it themselves under order from the president if he really wants them released. He's met with them. They've been in his office. So why in the office you go, hey, could you sign a thing that allows us access to these things? Right? Why wouldn't you be able to do that? Anyways, Anna Paulina Luna was accused of being a witch by the other Republicans she was running against. There may be some residual shit to that. We'll see. I mean, I don't have a problem with her being a witch. It's kind of like Republicans are always accusing each other of shit that Democrats don't care about. Being trans, being a witch, being polyamorous, whatever, having an open relationship. Like, I don't care. As long as you're who you are and you're not, it's consenting adults, I give a shit. I'll judge you by what you do as a representative of your district, or how much you live by the standards you set, something like that. Anyways, she's been put in charge of, like, this little Epstein subcommittee, I guess. So here we go.
Luna is here now. Congresswoman, how hard is it to say what you did last week?
Well, if you're asking me what I did, I'd be happy to report that I'm actually in the process of trying to codify via an amendment everything that Doge is doing. And it's not that hard if you go through the bullet points. But I think what more people are more shocked by is that Elon Musk, in sending out this email, is really pushing back on the way as usual in Washington, D.C., but also across the country for many of these people that have
The way as usual? What is this? The Tao of government? You mean business as usual?
been inhabiting these positions, hoping to just collect a retirement.
Here's an idea. Don't wear a bill cap in the fucking White House. Take your fucking hat off. It as a point of respect. And especially the one with the Nazi lettering on it. Because, again, he picked this specific German lettering for his Make America Great Again dark MAGA hat that he wears around as a badge, as gang wear.
And not actually show up to work.
Yeah, I can't imagine someone's on Social Security and they're not alive and someone's pulling all that cash out of the system on their behalf. What's going on with...
Yeah, prove they are before you cut other people's benefits?
The Epstein files, Congresswoman?
Well, I'm really actually happy that you asked that question. So
she's really actually happy that you asked that question, Jesse. She's really actually happy.
I was tasked with the task force on declassification.
She was tasked with the task force, and she was really actually happy that you asked about her being tasked with the task force.
And to look forward and investigate the files once they are released from the...
To look for... Did she say look for or look forward? Like look forward to? That's her gig? That's the gig? What do you do? I hope.
Classification. To look forward and investigate the files once they are released.
To look forward and investigate the files once they're released. Okay. If they're released, what the fuck do we need you for? For real. Sorry. So you're going to start this shit off with Doge is cutting government waste, and they're making sure that there aren't redundancies in the government. And then you're telling us that after all the shit is released, you're going to investigate, as if the entire fucking country won't have access to the exact same fucking files. And we'll do it for fucking free. What do you mean? Oh, all right. Who the fuck are these people?
From the Attorney General's office. Now, I want to be clear about something. What we found in the last couple of weeks and what's definitely apparent is there's absolutely a war taking place in the intelligence agencies, right? We saw the CIA was reporting that they're worried about their own people leaking secrets to foreign countries. And we were also notified last week that there was a whistleblower that came forward stating that there was evidence being destroyed at the FBI. As soon as the FBI found out President Trump won the election, they started their deep state nonsense. And so I have full faith in
Hey, asshole. No. We're not waiting for anything to come from their office. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel both said they already saw the stuff. They already have access to it. They already have copies. Yes. Meanwhile, where's Hunter's laptop? Do you guys still have it? You guys, it must be kicking around there somewhere. Hey, while you're looking for all the Epstein stuff that they allegedly were trying to shred, even though it's digital, what are they doing? Shredding emails? Is that what they were doing?
Tell and AG Bondi to deliver those files. But I want to be very clear about something. The American people want the truth. We don't want redactions. And although we are same team,
hang on. I happen to be an American citizen, and I am totally fine with the victims' names being redacted. I think women who were sexually trafficked and assaulted when they were underage don't have a moral responsibility to have their name bandied about for the rest of their fucking lives. So no, I don't need pure transparency in that. How about just all the perpetrators, because the girls were underage, leave the underage girls alone. I don't need full transparency. Just leave them out of it. They didn't ask to be a part of it. And even if they did, they were underage when it happened, and they can't consent because they were underage. Fuck you. No. So I'm saying I'm fine with that part. I don't need to know the names of the victims. I'm fine with just the perps, dummy.
Going to continue to press for that transparency because that is exactly what the American people asked for when they elected President Trump.
Good.
No, certainly not in regard to this shit. Because again, if you cared about the Epstein story, why would you ever vote for his running buddy?
Glad to hear you're on it, and I'm glad to hear that we're smoking out some of these saboteurs. Congresswoman, have a great weekend.
Hold on. What are you glad to hear, Jesse? You fucking moron. Wait. Run that by me again.
That is exactly what the American people asked for when they elected President Trump.
Good. I'm glad to hear you're on it, and I'm glad to hear that we're smoking out some of these saboteurs.
Okay. Glad to hear you're on it. What's she on? Besides what, Adderall? Because that's I guess that's the Florida sniff of choice these days. What's she on? For real. She just told us she's looking forward to the files when they come out, and she'll investigate them after they come out. And again, what do we need her for? Why is that important? How is that being on top of it? On top of it would be making sure the stuff comes out, getting access to it yourself, and making sure that what is released is everything. Right? That would be what you do. She went nowhere near that. Now, before Trump got elected, that's how she spoke. Now that he's in the office, this is not how she talks about this stuff. None of them. They're all talking about, well, there's some fake stuff in there that you got to watch out for. But, we want transparency is very important. So our process will be completely transparent. Motherfucker, we don't care about your process. If the documents that come out are all the documents that are available, minus the redacted names of the victims themselves, again, just to be clear, I don't give a fuck how you came about it if you did it legally. And saboteurs, sorry, you do realize there's one person that if Kash Patel and Pam Bondi called SDNY and said, give us all the Epstein files you have, there is one person who could call them and say, don't. There is one person who could call and override the request from Pam Bondi, override the request from Kash Patel, if they even made them. One person. Donald John Trump. That's who. Their boss can call fucking SDNY and go, as a presidential directive, I am telling you that these things are secret. We're seizing them for national security reasons, and don't give them to them, and don't tell them why either. We have reasons. One fucking person, Trump. That's it. And the idea that these guys are like, I don't even know how this even happened. Golly. We should have access to all this stuff, you'd think. Yeah, except for the fact that Donald Trump is a co-conspirator. I mean, you think the fucking Russia shit is? Here's a good one for you. I got a new one. Here's a new one for you, asshole. How about this? Epstein. Anytime Trump says Russia, from now on, the response should be, well, that's not our biggest concern. Right now, we're concerned about Epstein. Right? Let him try to push back on that shit. They're always with the Russia. I don't give a shit about Russia. I care about Epstein. Why? Why does he get arrested and die in custody when Donald Trump is president? Why does his place get raided and all his shit disappears while Donald Trump is president? Why does Donald Trump promise to release all this shit? And even the right wing is starting to wake up to the fact that maybe this motherfucker does not want you to know how close he was to Epstein. Hashtag Epstein. Hashtag Doge is a heist. I'm fine. I'm all right. Now, the upside of this, I will say, is that this is the first opportunity that I've seen where the right in the media, the right-wing side of the media, is seemingly all Glenn Beck joking about Stu being on the list aside, is seriously upset about this stuff not coming out. This is the first time. They don't give a fuck about the price of eggs right now. They're just blowing it off entirely. They don't give a shit about the projections by the Atlanta Fed that we're going to have negative 2.8% growth this year, which would, and in quarter one. And that means if it's followed up with the tariffs, there's no way we don't enter a recession this year. Right? So none of that stuff registers with them, seemingly. Oh, beg your pardon, JD Christie. That's a good point. I don't think my thing is in there for some reason because I switched over computers. Hold on, I'll do it. Thank you for that. These folks don't get upset with Trump about anything. But they do get, let's see this. Where are you? That's funny. It's going to be, it's on a hard drive. And how about this one? Yeah. There is, let's see if this wakes this thing up. You silly thing. They don't care about any of this, any of the rest of this stuff we talk about. Stuff that matters to us, fucking food aid to children, any of that stuff. They don't care. But they do care about this. They do seem to care about this. And I would argue, let's see if this is in here. Silly thing. Where are you, Flicker? You silly doggy. Let's see, I picked gifts. I'm looking for something. Hold on. That's not it. 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 That's cool though. I should put that in there. I don't know why I don't. And so we can make them care about it more, is my argument. I think we now have a chance to recognize an area where they at least want to be seen giving a shit. Right? They have made this standard important to themselves. I call bullshit on it, but I think we can, drive them towards it. Sorry, husband. Carl Dean just passed away. Dolly Parton's husband. By the way, I think I'm been dealing with the Gene Hackman stuff like everybody else has, just like, waiting for it to almost settle before we, go into, the work that he did and, my favorite stuff that he's done and, just in dealing with it. But it seems like it's still up in the air as they answer what really happened. Not that it matters. It doesn't affect his existence. He lived to be, 95 years old. And was an incredible performer. I just watched The Firm the other night, and he's fucking fantastic in it. Just some terrific stuff. And like a wonderful body of work. Before I go, though, let me see. I'm not going to be able to throw the Venmo because I don't have the still on here. I will make sure I have it by the next broadcast, if that's okay with you guys. I'm going to grab something else while I'm at it, though, because pictures, where is it? Yeah, there we go. I'm just going to throw this guy in here because I like it. 1 second. Now you like them apples. Just put this down here in the corner. Kind of cool. I'm just saying. I know it's a little over the top, but I made it a long time ago, and I was looking for the Venmo, and it popped into my file. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that thing. I was experimenting with little moving 3D things. I also, by the way, had a version of it that, if I can get my mouse over to the right page, a version that had. Let's see if I can scroll this over to this guy. Where are you crazy thing? Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. It's right there. Because I've done a bunch of these. I was working on these little rotating 3D things, and we'd had infotainment wars for a long time, and I was like, I've had this thing forever. Here, I'll show you. Whoops. Link. Where are you? Here you go. Grab it. There you go. There you go. Boink. This little guy. That one up there in the corner. The infotainment wars rotating cube. Because I think we did that a long time ago when InfoWars had their little thing rolling around. And I was like, I made one in some program that came up and it had just been sitting on a hard drive forever. Yes, he's fantastic in Mississippi Burning. He was fantastic in so much work. So I just want to say, like, it's not that I don't want to address it or whatever. I always feel like these things are awkward in general. But I also just feel like it should settle and have time to pass and people find out what happened if it matters to them, and then deal with his death afterwards. But at 95, what an amazing life, you know. I almost feel like it's to be 95 years old and go out so dramatically. It's the actor's gift. I think it's probably workable. Now, on my way out, can I show you a couple of things? I don't have time for the full parsing of these, but I want to show you something real quick. I met Lindy Lee at Sexy Liberal. Were we in DC or something? She was around it. And she's Chinese, so I said hi to her in Chinese, assuming that she spoke the language. That was my fault. She clearly doesn't, or it doesn't on purpose or something, even though she was born there. But yeah, super weird. She was on Peanut Butter Dickhead's show, PBD, talking about how she's a conservative and she's been going conservative for a while, and how she thinks she was a Democrat because she was on birth control. Was that Chicago Sexy Liberal? That makes sense. Close to the DNC. That makes sense. So anyways, I want to show you something real quick.
To be here.
So it's for the love of the...
Hold on.
Like, I was born in China, where women in politics was just, it's just unthinkable. I consider it a sacred trust to be involved in politics, to shape American thought. It's such an honor to be here. So
it's for the love of the game. Now, okay, so let me be devil's advocate. Is it getting into parties? Is it getting you into meetings that maybe you wouldn't have gotten if you wouldn't have given that money? Is it getting you to meet people that's kind of cool?
But that's not all of it. It's all...
Right. Basically, she was accused of being a grifter because people were saying, she was just there for the money when she was actually bundling the money. Wait. Everybody's like, she's a grifter. Wait for it. You ain't seen nothing yet. Watch this.
Also just, I loved, shaping as an influencer, as, someone who worked so hard. I'm a commissioner of Pennsylvania, by the way. I was appointed by the governor to, have an impact on my communities, on my state, on my Commonwealth. That's amazing. It's something that, as someone who comes from a communist regime, I never would have had that opportunity. So I think even my brother, who's born here, he doesn't understand why I care so much. He's in business. He just doesn't understand my fixation with politics.
So if you're raising money for these guys, and it has nothing to do with, you're not getting paid nothing. There's no so you have to raise money. Why weren't...
Also, there's a weird thing I want to point out. It's not kind of important to this overall. It's just curious to me. PBD peanut butter dickhead here has a real hard time looking her in the face. This whole interview, I don't know what it is.
Didn't you raise money for Republicans? Why did you raise money for Democrats?
I wonder that a lot during the campaign, actually.
Why didn't you?
I really wondered that. I was like, actually, we were at a dinner with Doug Emhoff, and my guest was like, "Why are we here?" we were watching the antics on the stage, and my guest was like, "We're on the wrong team, aren't we?" And this is in the middle of the campaign.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah.
So yeah, that question, I'm crying right now just talking about it. But like in the middle, I was like, this isn't right. Like neither of us identified. The party was shifting so quickly. It was happening in like real time. And they worshipped like LGBTQIA plus. You know, every year there's another letter added. Next year there's going to be like a Z attached or something. And
they're thinking that's resonating with the people, but it's not. When you're in it with other.
See how he doesn't, like, he can't even look at her face? Is that, does that stand out to anybody else? It's super weird.
Who are also raising money and they're seeing how things are going. Were there any others like you on the inside that are like, Lindy, what are we doing here? What the hell is going on? Are there other fundraisers like you out there?
You mentioned Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
A lot of my donors, I'm sorry, people are going to call me a Wall Street shill, and I did work for Morgan Stanley. So, but those, as
by the way, Morgan Stanley is said Tesla's their American automaker stock pick, and it took a shit today. Just curious.
As a donor, you have to have money, and a lot of my donors are in finance, and so they're conservative leaning, and they gave because I asked them to, not because they really believe. They gave because they're my friends, and a lot of them were like, "Oh wow, this party is becoming like a little bit too much," but also, to be honest, many of them consider Trump to be an existential threat to democracy. And for these folks, for the business people, they want a stable economy most of all. They want, a prosperous stock market. They want America to prosper and to be stable and to not be turbulent. Hey.
Okay. Wait, before she clips it. Okay. Which is a decent concern. It seems like they go, oh yeah, I don't like the social stuff and I disagree with whatever, but I can't have him wreck the fucking country. Again, ticks don't want the dog to die is basically what she's saying here. It's amazing that she can't put that together. But let me show you something. The whole purpose of this is earlier, I think, in it, she says, I'm not a grifter. Hold on.
Like that it was supposed to help with something. But it completely altered my mind almost.
That's when she was on birth control.
And when I decided to come off it in May 2023, I feel like I reclaimed my life. And I realized conservatives were right all along. And
wow. So birth control pills will turn you into a Democrat. I guess in the same way that Ritalin makes you racist, I suppose.
And people might ridicule me for citing this as a reason.
It's very weird.
But I feel like it stole half a decade of my life. Half a decade that I was kind of living on the sidelines of what I could have been. And so I'm playing.
She means a mom and a trad wife, I'm guessing. So, sorry, let me check. What was that? Hold on, Dirk. Trump holds all U.S. military aid to Ukraine. Is pausing military aid to yeah, I knew that was coming, by the way. We'll talk about that more on Wednesday with Phil. Yeah. Check this out, though. I want to show you something, though.
Catch up. I've been playing catch up for the past 2 years because I bought into that ideology that birth control was going to, it would herald independence, a new era for women. But it actually just hijacked my mind. And so that happened, and then the assaults on the street, and I've always been conservative. I've been a Christian all my life, and the party has just been lurching to the left. I want nothing at all. It makes me sick. I don't want nothing to do with the woke and the trans ideology. I didn't sign up for that. That was a recent development, right? In the past 5-6 years, the Democratic Party that I joined was rooted in middle-class values of moderation, fiscal responsibility,
Yeah, but also responsible for like gay marriage being the law of the land and the like at the same time. Because you can obviously walk, chew gum, and blow bubbles at the same time while humming a song. Maybe you can't, but I can.
While you're there, and I get that, but to me, while you're in it and you're raising the money, 10 million, 2 million, 3 million, you're raising millions for these guys, right? What's the incentive? Meaning,
look how you can't even look at her face. It's super weird.
Is there a comp plan? Is there a way you're getting paid the more money you raise?
No. But by the way, I wasn't paid. I'm a donor. I'm one of those rich fucks who give money. I don't get paid for any of this.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So what was your...
Okay, there we go. That's the part I wanted to show you, okay? Then let's fast forward to the tail end of this where she says her little piece. Yeah, where I ended it before. Now watch this. At the end of the video, like a lot of these, you know how like occasionally when I show a Glenn Beck video or somebody like that, there'll be an ad break in it. Ben Shapiro does them as well. There's an ad in the actual clip. This is the first time I've ever seen the guests ad show up. Watch this.
Turbulent. Hey guys, I'm so excited to be on Manect. I will answer any questions no matter what it is, whether it be politics.
All right. By the way, Manect, which is the dumbest fucking title for, Manect. Manect is the name of the app. Have you ever heard of it? I hadn't heard of it until she brought it up. Let me show you. Let's see what she says.
Sex, your love life, family issues, whatever it is, I'm here for you. I want to be your friend. I want to talk with you.
Okay. Oh, by the way, it says under here, let me show you this down here. It says Manect. That's a picture of her. There's the app. Lindy Lee, Manect. Get expert advice instantly. And then there's a QR code that I'm covering up because fuck them. Manect. Okay. You ever heard of this? I've never heard of this either. And I've certainly never seen a guest on Peanut Butter Dickhead's show do their own fucking ad as the sales point on it. If you want to talk about being the grift, it sounds like at one point, I think she even says earlier in the thing, like, how much are you paying me to be here? And he goes, nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. She literally says that in this clip. Let me show you something. This is Manect. Get expert advice instantly. Look who that is. It's Peanut Butter Dickhead and Chris Cuomo and whoever the fuck, Thomas Ellsworth, who's one of the other hosts on that show, Paul Saladino, this guy, Ryan Montgomery, who's the ethical hacker. Find an expert or become an expert. Get it? This is Manect. There's a leaderboard. Become an expert and book a podcast. So if you have a podcast, you can book guests from their network of people. News Nation host Chris Cuomo. Turn any celebrity into your personal mentor in seconds. Stop searching for answers on Google. Stop getting your DMs ignored. Get personalized one-on-one coaching advice from people you admire the most. Pay to guarantee 100% response rate. Find an expert. I have no idea what the fuck this costs. And stop. And if you want to do this, stop giving free advice to these losers. Make them pay for it. Share a podium with the world's most admired leaders and entrepreneurs on Manect. Manect. God damn. Monetize your time by offering one-to-one consultations with your audience. It sounds, I gotta say, like Cameo for douchebags. But CEO Results Roofing CEO Dustin Godofsky. It's the best way to connect is on Manect. Jesus. So Mentor, is this what it is? Is it Mentor Connect Manect? Is that what that is? Because it sounds fucking stupid. Okay. Have a podcast? Book your next guest through Manect. There they go. That the hosts of Peanut Butter Dickhead talking to people, like selling this to each other or getting booked on stuff like Terrell Owens, Peanut Butter Dickhead, Michael Franzese, a former member of the Colombo organized crime family. This is one of the guys he was talking about having in his documentary. This is PBD's fucking company. How you can connect. God damn. Can I connect? Do 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 do. Connect. Do 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 do. Connect. One, you can get a text answer that's totally from them and not an AI trained for them or whatever. Two, a video answer. You send it and Peanut Butter Dickhead will send you a message right from his office for money. Or a video call where they talk to you directly for a limited amount of time. Download Connect. Are you fucking kidding me? So she came on the show to be for free, and they're paying her to be on Connect, or she's selling her services on Connect as part of the deal of being on there to promote the fact that she's on Connect. That's it. Now, I don't want you guys to think, chat room, that I'm just going to leave you with that goofy bit of grift as being the kind of standard for how shitty right-wing media is these days, because they're all fucked up. They're all going broke because with Trump in charge, the only job they really have is to protect him. The only real job that any of the right-wing media has right now is to defend him when he does the indefensible or he fucks up. And so they're just catching hell all the time, and it's hilarious. Here's what I would like to share with you. If you don't believe me, check this out. This is the Real Housewives of Georgia O'Keeffe paintings. Megyn Kelly and I don't know who they are. Who's it? Anna Kachian and Dasha Nekrasova from the Red Scare podcast. So the pro-Russian podcast discussed the latest drama involving Elon Musk. So let's see what it is devolved to. They're all drinking fucking martinis, having a little chit chat from Megyn Kelly's studio. And this, and I'll show you in a minute, like how fucking disgusting.
We do like to discuss some lighter cultural fare on Fridays if we can. And that
Yes, lighter cultural fare on Fridays if we can.
brings me to Ashley St. Clair. Now, that was one of the other things that I had with Ben Smith when I went to his conference in D.C. yesterday. He was upset that I, quote, attacked Ashley St. Clair, that I went after her. That's what he said. And he was acting like I was bullying her in some way. Well, I never would have mentioned the name of Ashley St. Clair. She was not on my radar. I've never attacked Elon's other baby mamas. I don't care. If like these women want to strike that deal with Elon, it's none of my business.
Yeah, I think absolutely. If you want to have a massive nose job that awkwardly aligns the bridge of your nose with some section of your chin that may or may not have been there a few months ago, who am I to say? Who are you to say? You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing.
Good on him if it works right.
But I'm with you. Okay, I'm following you. Right.
Everybody.
Okay.
The difference with this woman is she knew completely what she was walking into. And then when the benefit of that bargain came exactly as one could predict it would come, which is no meaningful relationship with him, no Valentine's Day together, she got upset, sent out a nasty tweet, claimed a tabloid was doing an in-depth investigation on her, which never broke. The only one who ever reported on this was the New York Post, because she gave them a photo shoot inside her, quote, lavish apartment.
With feet pics and an incorrectly arranged chessboard.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Really? Yeah. Are you a chess player?
She is.
Oh my God, you noticed that?
Also, by the way, they're dumping on this woman who had a kid with Elon Musk. Oh, God damn it. Every time I sit my arm like this, it thinks I'm giving a thumbs up. That's friggin' hilarious. I think the important thing, though, is this working? No? Does that work? I don't know. Oh, maybe it only does that one version of it. Hold on. I think maybe I can trigger it. Perhaps. Let's see. Elgato camera. Reactions. Yep. Let's go to here. Did that work? Maybe it wouldn't. No, I guess not. Oh, yeah. Oh, it only works inside there. That's so weird. Gotcha. All right. Good to know. I don't know why that one pops up in particular. I don't care. Yeah. So she's in her apartment with her shoes off. Whatever. Who cares? I don't know why that's a big deal for them, but it is. And her chessboard that they have on the table, I think the knights and the bishops are reversed or something. That's funny. Maybe they all work now. Is that what's happening? Yeah, there you go. See, now they're all on. That's funny. That's hilarious. I don't know what. I think this does the. Yeah. Cool. All right. There we go. And then this one's the one that makes it pop up and do something else, I guess, or whatever. So, this is so silly. Anyway, so they're basically bitching about her and the idea that I don't know, she's a slut because she slept with him. He's not a slut for sleeping with her, is the idea, or something.
Impressive.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, here are the feet, the naked feet, with her floor-to-ceiling windows in an apartment almost certainly funded by him.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's what they're doing. The bishops are on the inside. Or sorry, the bishops are on the outside. The knights are on the inside. They're like the knights should be here, and I don't know. Maybe there's. Let's see. Is there a? Let's see. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Southern rank when center promotion. Game always starts on a night move. Working on the night moves. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, so here we go. White's back row, black suit undergoing equivalent change, working on learning about this advanced variant, some experience. Swapping the knights and bishops is one version of displacement chess. I'm not sure if you wish to learn this, though. The main aim of displacement chess, such as Fischer random chess, is to negate the benefit of rote learning. Learning how to play this variant well by studying sounds like a strange goal. Okay, so this is called displacement chess, meaning that it's not a mistake because both sides are mirroring each other. You do it so that you don't learn just mechanical patterns in chess. So you intentionally start with the chess pieces in different positions so that you can practice a different methodology. It took me about here. Hold on one second. Accept the cookies. There you go. From board and card games. Is there a variant of chess such as the starting position, bishops and knight are switched? White's back row would look like rook, bishop, knight, queen, king, knight, bishop, rook. Where can I learn more about this variant play? Swapping the knights and bishops is one of the biggest displacements of chess. I'm not sure if you wish to do this, though. The main names. That knight, yeah, that would be it. Okay. Somewhat of a fanatic. I'm trying to figure whether this is an advantage to doing this chess different ways. Imagine okay. This is one form of displacement chess, though I didn't know that it has its own name or any site books dedicated to it. There's a call for this kind of switch when it is called is felt that chess is too well understood. The first call was about 80 years ago from world champion Jose Casablanca. He embraced a scientific form of chess, took it to a high level, and then he and his admirers felt that there was a little left to learn about the chess. Okay, so here's the thing. Whether she actually plays chess this way, it's not an accident. Whether this may be high-level bullshitting, or she may actually play at this high level, I doubt it. I mean, she did nail a billionaire, and she's allegedly having his baby, and he's paying for her apartment, so she's got some skills. Hello. But let's see Megan and them.
She is.
Oh my God, you noticed that? That's
People were-
impressive.
yeah, there it is.
Yeah, here are the feet, the naked feet, with her floor-to-ceiling windows in an apartment almost certainly funded by him.
Yeah. I think, well, she
there
said
we
that
go.
he kept her in isolation. Yeah, the knights and the bishops need to be swapped. But
I am impressed.
Well,
And that's a true chess player to see that in the photo.
No, it isn't. It's all you're spotting is that it doesn't look standard. So stupid. And again, all three of these women, I would like to point out, are dunking on another woman who's having a baby with some dude, and he's treating her like shit, and they're basically saying she had it coming. So, future is female. Yeah.
So what do you make of the fact that now she...
What do you make of the fact that neither of you took a fucking half a second to look up alternate ways of starting your chess game so that you can learn to play instead of, in a less mechanical way and be more creative in your chess playing, possibly, or at least appear that that's what you're trying to do to people who actually do know about this shit. Believe me, if her next husband is a chess master that helps her, raise her $1 billion baby, these ladies are going to have a very different show in a year or so.
She wants us to feel sorry for her. That's what I believe. She's sad about the consequences of her own life choices, and she definitely doesn't want publicity. Do not believe the pictures of her in the corset in the New York Post. Doesn't want it.
Yeah, she's wearing like a dark Lauren Sanchez look, where it's like the Lauren Sanchez inauguration fit, but all black.
Yeah.
No, I said this on our podcast when we covered this topic. Like, sometimes I feel personally sort of undignified when we like post selfies or shill our meme coin, and then there's like these.
Yeah, you should. Not because of what your selfies look like, I guess, and not because, but because meme coins are bullshit.
Influencers out there on social media doing like Maury Povich paternity stuff. It's crazy.
Right. So now she has sued Elon, that's in the news today, for paternity.
Yeah.
And accuses him of going dark on her. And Elon tweeted out something to the effect of, I have taken care of every child I've ever fathered, and generously. If ever there's been a breakdown, it's because the demands have been exorbitant. So he didn't name her, but it seemed to be a clear reference.
Yes, sister. Yes, queen. Put her in her place.
To, trust me, I'm going to take care of every child I sire, but I'm not going to be made a fool of.
Yeah.
And start giving out billions to 26-year-olds who I...
You're not. You're apparently giving it out to your kid to set them up for life. And why should they be any different from any other child you sired in that theory, I guess? I only have one that I know of. And if I found out that I had another child magically someplace, they wouldn't be worth less just because I didn't know about them for a period of time. I'd be mad that I didn't get to spend time with them. That would be upsetting if I didn't know I had a child, more than like finding out and somebody tries to like, wring some cash out of you. I'm sure that would be upsetting, but not as upsetting as the time lost. Right? Because again, you can get, you can make more money, but time is gone. Nah. Gross.
Slept with once in St. Bart's, which appears to be what happened here.
And we were sort of speculating on whether they actually...
Sorry. So it's her fault she got pregnant after only having sex with him once?
Actually like knocked boots, or if it was an IVF baby, because he has a record of that. Not really my business and don't care, but yeah.
You kind of do.
People have dug up like old correspondences, texts of hers.
She
with, like,
had, she
or
leaked
she's
her,
screen capped,
like
because
signal
they were disappearing.
correspondences,
She was
yes, it's like that's how she is. Like, this is what she does. It's who she is, who he is, obviously super genius, and couldn't possibly be trapped by, beach skank number 75, so clearly she must be more clever. except her chess pieces are backwards, in which case we now know she's the stupids.
Ready
And
to bet.
I'm just going to keep doing this the whole day. If I could just put these on the sides here. And it's so disgusting and stuff. And now I'll never get a chance to do it.
I'm not that scandalized by that because, you know, we women say all sorts of crazy things when we have our eyes on a guy.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, bitches. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for finally. What?
I wish he would knock me up. That's not that outrageous.
I've never said that, but okay.
I have.
This is the conversation they are having on Friday, the day the Epstein drop was supposed to happen. Just to remind you. This is the day the Epstein binders went out. This is what they ended up talking about. And I would like to remind you, like, this is what it's burned down to. This is the Fed is predicting a 2.8% drop in this quarter's growth, negative 2.8%, which would be almost a 5-point drop. And similar for next quarter, which would mean recession officially. Trump embarrassed himself horribly on Friday with Zelensky just making himself look like, I mean, it was hard to understand everything he said with Putin's balls in his mouth. And at the same time, it was largely a bunch of like noise to cover for the fact that they didn't want people to see that he was picking and choosing the Epstein stuff so that they could redact the parts with him in it because he's really a victim there. And what did they end up doing for a show? Megyn Kelly and these two Russian girls sit there and joke about the fact that they've may or may not have hoped to be knocked up by some rich dude at some point.
But I think just her conduct leading up to it, that she like leaked this herself on Valentine's Day, that it was kind of like a pre-choreographed, almost Instagram-like post versus a tweet.
Wow, it's like she's playing chess.
That it had the name and email of her publicist who does crisis management and damage control for celebrities.
Yeah, she's having a billionaire's baby. She can afford it, I think.
She claims that she was isolated in her home, that she wasn't able to take a walk with her baby.
That her 5-month-old baby has never been out for a walk.
As if someone would recognize Ashley Sinclair in the street at all.
Especially prior. Right.
Listen to these assholes. Who does this bitch think she is? Nobody cares who she is. That's because they didn't see her. Once they see her, then they know. Hey, Ashley, what's going on? Oh, my God, you had a baby. Who's the dad? Right? That's why she was isolated. And then she couldn't take the isolation anymore, according to her. And I don't care. Awful is awful is awful. Elon Musk allegedly had sex with Amber Heard while she was still dating Johnny Depp and during the time that she shit on his bed. So obviously everybody's a mess. That said, I haven't seen a single thing that any of these ladies have said about her that reflects poorly on her or well on them.
Like, she was nobody.
Right.
Why would anybody care?
That's what...
I don't know. Apparently Elon Musk cared enough to throw some baby batter in her.
Was bothering her.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was the problem. So the tweets to which you refer, she had an exchange with...
All right. I don't need to watch any more of that because it's just fucking gross and I don't care. But that's where they are now. That's what they're left with. The entirety of the Republican media sphere right now is simply tap dancing around the fact that they, hold on, let me see this. Yeah, I need this real quick. Open one thing up real quick. Now, before I go, on a pretty serious note, I brought this up earlier today, and there's a woman who does a show called Lay's Real Talk, and she's Chinese, and she talks about a lot of Chinese issues. And I always take stuff with a, grain of salt when people are, like country specific in what they're talking about, right? Because they could all be, tied to, you find out later that they're linked to an intelligence group or they're part of a cult or they just hate it. Or like, I think Lei mentions Falun Gong in this video. But I want to show you something that stood out to me. And I've been talking about this for a while. So for those of you who don't know, before COVID and right up till it broke, I was in China off and on for 2 years filming a travel show that never saw the light of day, largely because it was supposed to go into editing and then COVID happened and the show was called Explore China and the tagline was there's never been a better time to explore China, which is clearly not the case and wasn't then, certainly, still isn't. And so it just rots in a can someplace, and it's just me going to all these different cities and meeting, business people and all that kind of stuff. And, they needed a host who was funny and spoke Chinese, and there's only one of us. So it was an easy audition, and I got the show, and I started doing it over there. It was great and whatever. But one of the things that stuck out to me every time I was on, like every time I was over there, was the lack of people. Everywhere I went, I was shocked by, I was supposed to be in these cities that had millions of people in them. And, hold on one second. Let's see if I can do this part. Is this where she plays the whole thing, I guess? Yeah, we'll just go to this real quick. That it should be, everywhere I was going, it should be packed. Chongqing, which is a great city, it was a lot of fun while I was there, was fucking vacant. It was bizarre. I went to the big shopping district 3 times in one day, morning, afternoon, and evening. We went back another night, and it was like there were people around, but nowhere near the, Times Square or Union Square or in New York or in San Francisco for that matter. And like any Chinatown I've been in was way more full of people and busy on the streets than any place in China, actual China. Well,你好 Mike 哦我的名字是霍光浩我是美国的演员 There you go. 戏剧演员 as a matter of fact. So I just said, hi, I'm Mel Sparks. I'm an American actor, a comedic actor, as a matter of fact. Anyway, so anyways, I was shocked by how few people were there. And this is pre-COVID. So after I was there, I was like, you guys will remember, I started talking about how there's no fucking way there's 1.4 billion people in the country. There's just no fucking way. And if they do exist, they must be way out in the fucking country and in areas we never went to. And they certainly aren't in the cities. Okay? It really fucking odd. I was in Shanghai, Beijing, Nanjing, Chengdu, Shenzhen. We were in Chongqing. There's like a lot of these big cities, and nobody. Like there were people around, but not on the scale that you would expect in a city as big as that. I could go for blocks and not see a person on the street, and it made no fucking sense. And this is before COVID. And people remember I've talked about this. And so I also at one point I was I'd mentioned this to somebody when I came back. And I was just kind of like, because it was on my mind. I was so shocked by how few people I was seeing. And there was this guy who was in the in sort of the WeChat business. He was in the retail marketing business. And they did this thing about how they would, around Chinese New Year and other things, they would, because everybody pays their bills using WeChat, using their phone, right? And obviously this wouldn't count for the impoverished areas because they wouldn't do it that way. It's all, fucking coin money out there or something. But he was going, yeah, we used to see somewhere in the order of 800 million transactions. And now we're lucky if we see 600 million. meaning that 200 million people just fucking vanished. Yeah, exactly. 1.5 million in Philly for scale. Walk around the fish market in Philly where that where or like downtown anytime, like near the main like city hall area. There's always people around, just like people all over the fucking place. And yet I would go for, long walks and barely see anybody. So 200, well, somebody was like, what do they do with all the bodies? Crematoriums were working, if you'll recall, during COVID, overtime. They had cremation trucks. Remember that? Now, you have to remember, the story was from China that for 2 years, the number of dead was just over 4,000. In a country of 1.4 billion people, a highly contagious disease that made them shut down their entire country and scared the living fuck out of the rest of the world, only killed 4,000 people in China. Who the fuck welds people into their homes over 4,000 deaths in a country of 1.4 billion? Makes no sense. You wouldn't even notice it. It'd be like the people who die from like flesh-eating bacteria from being in, nasty swamp water in Florida, right? You wouldn't shut down all the fucking pools in the country over it, right? Super weird. All right. Anyways, this guy brought it up that the number looks more like 600 million in terms of, they used to have 800 million, now 600 million. And that was the first shock where I had heard a number higher than the number I had heard repeatedly, which was 30 to 40 million people died in China because of COVID, specifically. That in the first year, 20 to 25 million people died. And then since then, as they continued, because their vaccine did not work and they didn't take proper precautions and, and it just ratcheted up. And in areas they didn't have time or it spread too fast, that the number became closer to 50,000 was the high end number, which is an extraordinary number of dead people. Now the number looks closer to a couple of 100 million have died and still are. So let me share something with you real quick. This is tail end of this. This is Lay. I don't know what Lay's full name is. I don't think she says. Her show's called Lay's Real Talk. And I've seen it a couple times. And it's like the China show guys or whatever, and they talk about what happened to the one China rule. That's where partly the demographic fell over time anyways. You can't get rid of all your girls, which is what they ultimately did, and have one child policy that only rewards boys and then not have the fucking population cadaver at some point, no pun intended. So let me see if I think this is part of the point. But if you just listen to certain people, you're like, oh, okay, I don't know how much I believe their numbers. The Falun Gong guy says that they've lost 500 million. Couple other people, and I think she brings that up in the beginning, which makes me go, does she listen to the Falun Gong dude? I don't know, whatever. But I'll show you here. Let's see if this
only 660 million. And the official population in 2023.
Hold on. Here you go.
That China ever had under the CCP in 1961 during the Great Famine. And it's worth noting that China's population in 1961 was only 660 million. And the official population in 2023 is supposed to be 1.4 billion. So how was it possible that the Chinese had more babies during the Great Famine when its population was less than half of what it has now?
Right. Okay. So the Russians did the numbers as well. A bunch of people have done different calculations. The Russians have officially estimated, based on their economic numbers and everything, that the estimated population of China, according to them, according to Russia, is under 800 million. And this is publicly known. So you'll see.
Also in 2018, a topic concerning China's population went viral on Russian social media and online platforms. A Russian website called Peekaboo published an article titled, "China is Deceiving with Population Data," which a Russian expert by the name of Viktor Makov, who stated that research on China's grain production and import-export data led to the shocking conclusion, which is that China's population could not possibly be the nearly 1.5 billion. He noted that in 1945, during the nationalist rule, China's population was 490 million. After the Communist Party implemented the Great Leap Forward, which resulted in the Great Famine, and then the Cultural Revolution, which caused countless deaths and injuries, followed by the one-child policy, 3 decades of one-child policy, which lasted from 1978 to 2015. So the Russian author asked, how could China's population surge to nearly 1.5 billion in the 3 decades? He found the claim to be implausible. So he said that by
the way, somebody was asking, she's Chinese. Lei is Chinese.
Comparing China's grain import-export data with its population growth trends, it became clear to him that the actual population is far less than the official number. And it's likely 800 million or even 500 million. Other Russian media reported that they added up the publicly available population data or figures of China's cities, and they came up with a total of only 280 million urban population. And based on the traditional urban-rural population ratio of 1:1, China's actual population should be around 500 million.
Okay, so this is in 2018, by the way. And there was a belief system at one point that China's population was going to taper off after 2027, that it would continue to grow until 2027, and then it would start to fall. And now we know, according to Peter Zion and others, and anybody who's done any of the studying, that they started to taper in 2017. Maybe earlier, but this is just official numbers.
Let's say the rural population.
Also, India's numbers are real. India, if you go to India, go look at Calcutta. Look at how many people are on the street, just how fucking packed it is everywhere, even in impoverished areas. That's how it is when you have a ginormous billion-person population. In China, it's nowhere near that. Even in the rural areas, you can see long stretches of land with just a few people on it. That never happens in China. If you see people around, they're giant groups of people, even in rural areas.
Is higher, even though it's not 50-50, even though it's, let's say, 60-40, they argue that China's total population should not exceed 800 million.
Right. Okay. So she's not the only one saying this, by the way. Let me show you something else real quick. So this is, there was a guy at the University of Chicago who does this study that figures out how the GDP of a country by how long the lights stay on at night, essentially. And he noticed in his equation that when you compare those, the GDP to this equation in Western countries and open countries where you can they have like an open stock market, or they have an open marketplace where people who are doing business in the country can find out the truth about what they're selling, and buying. If you're going to open a factory there, you want to know how many workers they actually have, whether or not there's an audience to buy your stuff. Like, in an open country, these things. You can look at certain factors and go, okay, we know that they say the GDP is, I don't know, whatever, $15 trillion. And we can weigh that against how long the factories stay open, whether they have night shifts at the ports and that kind of stuff to keep it going. And when you balance it, you go, okay, this is what $15 billion worth of output looks like, or $15 trillion worth of output looks like, because the lights are on and the people circulating and how much gas is sold and where people live and how many people go to school and all that shit. And you compare all those things and you can go, okay, if you do have $15 trillion and it really exists, then you will also see all these other things. If you don't see those other things and you hear that number, it's bullshit. So that brings us to this.
China's economy is 60% smaller than we thought. At least that is the implication if we are to believe the research presented in this research paper by Professor Luis Martinez from the University of Chicago. This would mean that instead of soon becoming the second largest economy in the world, China's economy is only about a third of the size of the mighty US economy. And it also means...
Yeah. The idea that they have an $18 trillion economy in China, it's closer to 5.7. That's the same as Japan. Okay, that's you can watch. You can just look up Chinese economy 60%, and you'll see a bunch of videos that people did about this guy's report, the University of Chicago one. Okay, yeah. Then, so this is, I think, the Falun Gong dude's video that they reference about he predicted that or said that they've lost 500 million.
Shocking revelation. China's population is only 800 million. In a densely populated country with agricultural land, it may not be sufficient, and cereal production often decreases due to drought, floods, insect infestations, and other natural disasters. This makes the Chinese people's fear of famine particularly strong. They are grateful to the Chinese government for feeding over 1 billion people. They blindly believe in the fanciful theory that without the CCP, the densely populated country would soon plunge into chaos. When China's position as the world's most populous country was suddenly challenged, people suddenly realized that this country even had fake population data. Is there anything that is not fake in this country?
Okay, so anyways, the dude who puts this video together, again, grain of salt, understand, that, let's see, Chinese crap, and then they actually go to the actual National Bureau of Statistics for China, and they start looking at the numbers. So as much as this dude's full of shit or what they're trying to push or how much they hate China, the reality is that the indicators all point that that's closer to the real number, 800 million. Now, again, I would put this in the side of like the maybe zone of this. And so part of this came from her, I think Lei references this Reddit thread with where this kind of started in the Our China Reddit thread about how there's the only source that says China has 1.4 billion is China. Everybody else, when they actually start looking at the numbers are all over the map. At the very least, you're looking at the most, you're looking at 800 million. At the least, it's scarily closer to 500 million. And again, there's a bunch of reasons why they're selling this, because they're competing with India for water. They've got to scare India into not taking Tibet back. And if you think, oh shit, it's still a large number of people and it's still a large army. So we'll just freak them out and make them afraid to come out just because we have the same number of people they do. They don't. India has far more people. So let's see. This is the part that I think that most people fixate on right here. Let me show you this real quick, and then I'll let you guys go, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Western countries kept gaining population despite low fertility rates because of immigration. China does not get any immigrants. So how could its population rise from 1.1 billion in 1990 to 1.4 billion in 2020? You're telling me that China gained 300 million with a low fertility rate and no massive scale immigration? Some will say that China's population growth still had momentum, but other countries like India had 860 million in 1990 and had 1.4 billion in 2020, despite far higher fertility rate of 3.0 and more momentum. Are you telling me that China's population grew similarly to India despite its far lower fertility rate and less momentum? It just doesn't make any sense. Even taking into account life expectancy does not explain things, as life expectancy in China rose by 10 years from 1990 to 2020, while it rose in India by 12 years in the same time period. But somehow China overtook India's population during that time. See where I'm going with this? Jess, I wouldn't worry about the Canada issue of not selling to New York. They just won't use a federal rate. They'll shift to New York will make its own deal with Canada for energy. And again, talk about Enron. Fear not is all I'm going to say. And I'll gladly dig into that a little deeper if you want over the next couple of days. But this is a lot of blather. Now, I do think that the tariffs going into place tonight, or in the next 24 hours, depending, you'll see about a week of cushion before there's a lot of price blowback that people start experiencing. And from that, you're going to see like a lot of people around Trump in his circle yelling at him. And it won't be us that makes him change direction. It'll be Bessent's crowd and, Peter Thiel and those guys. All right. Anyways, China also lost at least millions, if not tens of hundreds of millions, to coronavirus and suffered more from COVID than other countries. And so they go through like these videos that are available, and they do a fairly good job of collecting these. It's believed that China's economy might only be 40% of the official statistics due to the fact that the economic growth is correlated with increased electricity consumption, and yet the amount of night lights from China seen by satellites do not correlate with economic growth. The Russians said that, you know, all the people, this is what Lay's talking about, that 300 million inhabitants in the cities, and if they're 1-to-1 in the countryside, which is not necessarily the case, for years they've been saying that 90% of the population of China lives in the east, in the big cities anyways, so it might not even be 1-to-1, it might be 1 to 0.3, which is fucking nuts. And then the Japanese, let's see, is this Lay's video? Yes. So
the individuals who enforced these government policies were called menstruation police or menstrual police.
Oh yeah, that's from the one-child policy.
And now China is in a much worse population crisis, and menstruation police has returned.
But the opposite.
So on October 28th, China's State Council issued a notice titled Measures on Accelerating the Improvement of the Child-Bearing Support Policy System,
which is so sexy sounding,
and promoting the construction of a fertility-friendly society. So from this, you can tell the Chinese government has panicked over the low population. They turned the formerly birth control offices into birth promotion offices. So the officials went from forced.
Did she just say masturbation police? No, she said menstruation police, but it might as well be the same thing, Denise, because what they're trying to do is make people have babies and lots of them. There you go. Hold on.
Women to have abortions to now forcing people to have children. Newlyweds around the country have reported getting calls from local officials inquiring about their family planning status, and if the wife is pregnant. Women, married or single, are getting calls from these officials about their family planning status. The officials who monitor women's pregnancy or home planning status are given a new title called female follow-up officers. So people were shocked to see a screenshot.
By the way, yeah, hold on. Let me see if I think she has the Japanese numbers in here. Hold on. There you go.
I discussed China's population being no more than 800 million in my October 8th live stream. And I released a shorter edited version last week, and it received quite some attention. Some people find it hard to believe that China's population is
not me.
Actually 37 to 50, or can be 37 to 50%, or 500 to 700 million less than the stated 1.4 billion. They challenge my methodology by arguing that, one, we can't trust ChatGPT for calculating population, and two, my model or my method didn't factor in mortality rate. So let me address their concerns. First things first, about the accuracy of ChatGPT. Well, I know ChatGPT does make mistakes when doing statistical or mathematical calculations, and I agree that my method is very high level. You can almost say it's a very crude approach to population analysis. However, the point of my analysis is that it's a comparative study. I apply the same approach to both India and China. If the method is wrong, it would be wrong for both countries. The fact that it generated India's population within 4% of margin of error indicates that the method isn't far off. Now, about the second concern, that is not factoring mortality rate for the two countries.
This is Reuters in 2021, by the way.
Mortality rates in the study, Chinese population would be even smaller. Mortality rates are not going to help explain China's population gap. If anything, China has a much higher mortality rate than India because China experienced the SARS epidemic in 2003 and COVID, which has lasted until now. The government
Also,
has
again,
covered up.
real quick. Also, I wanted to point out that the India was at whatever 12-year growth in their mortality rate, or sorry, a 10-year growth in their mortality rate, and China had a 12-year growth in their mortality rate. Like the government just made it up to sound better than India's, and yet their population has shrunk comparatively. That doesn't work.
The real casualties. If anything, China has had a much higher unnatural deaths, total cases of unnatural death in the past 30 years than India. So if we do factor in mortality rates, it's not going to help explain the variance. So now to prove my point, to say that China's population is no more than 800 million, I want to share some statistics with you.
Okay, so this gets to the point we talked about before, and there's a crucial aspect to this. Like, why does this matter to us? Remember how last year I said there is going to be like gas prices are going to go down this year no matter who's president, and that's partly why Trump was promising that they're going to drop super fucking fast, because he thought he could grease the wheels of it even more so, but he's not going to. It's going to go down on its own. And why is that? Well, because there's a glut of excess oil that used to be used by China, either because there were enough people there who are alive and using it, or they were faking it. They were burning the oil just to look busy, or faking their use of it, which is entirely possible. And they were using that oil as a smokescreen, as it were. And now they can't afford to anymore. They got too many other problems, and they're not going to use it. And they're not expanding. And there's a lot of reasons materially why they wouldn't, even if they weren't faking, which is, of course, the fact that, we're reshoring factories. Europe is reshoring factories. The Belt and Road Initiative is basically dying. And did they kill off the elderly? It's more like passive eugenics. I don't think they killed them off. I think they let them die because they're a drag. And I think there are a lot of Republicans, quite frankly, that the reason they don't give a shit about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid is because they view that as culling the herd. That part of the problem is we're keeping too many weak people alive for too long. What's the incarceration rate in China? There's no way to measure it, honestly, because a lot of people just die. Again, our incarceration is higher than a lot of countries because our people live longer than a lot of the worst countries in the world who don't bother to, they just kill everybody or they let them die in prison. That's what Russia does. Russia will never have the same number of incarcerated people, even though they have the same number of criminals, and not even on a per capita basis, on a one-to-one basis. Beyond per capita, they have more violent criminals, more rapists, more serial killers, more murderers, more, people who go on stabbing sprees and all that kind of shit. But they don't stay in jail; they just kill them. So ours, depending on the state that they're in, might not get the death penalty, and even if they do, they're on death row for decades in some cases. So they'll never catch up with us, and it'll make them always look good because they just kill their people. This is the crucial part. The oil that was going to be used by China, if they kept up their charade, would have kept oil prices probably in the 70s or 80s, as far as the bottom of the price per barrel. But that's gone. That the chances of that are, slim to none. And if everybody just gave up on electric cars and went straight back to driving Edsels or cars from the 70s before the catalytic converter or any of that shit, it still wouldn't use the amount of oil that they were producing for the growing Chinese economy. So, gas prices are going to continue to contract, but they're not going to contract in a way that greases the wheels for other business, because in the process, at the same time, we are reshoring factories. We're moving factories from China to here, which raises the cost of everything made in those places because our workers work for way more than theirs do. And then once we start automating things, you're taking all the jobs that were, that we talk about sending them overseas for low wage, labor, and you just automate them here. That's the direction shit is going, no matter who's president. Now, Trump and his gang, whether they know this or not, and they're taking advantage of it, are still headed towards a brick wall. And there's a big part of corporate America that's very friendly with Trump that relies on China as a customer base. Once word gets out that that's not the customer base, and it kind of, you could argue it is, look at the number of Indian Americans who are in the government right now. You could argue that that ship has already sailed, that they're aware of this now. And you know, no disrespect to the Chinese citizenry or to Indian citizenry in that regard. But as far as where these guys are moving their money and their attention, it's pretty clear. You can look at just the sheer number of Indian Americans that are prominent in Trump's world. That's not an accident. And part of it is that they recognize this as an untapped resource. But the other part is because they realize that China isn't what it was all made up. It's an illusion. China's economy is largely an illusion. It is more than likely smaller than Japan's, which is incredible. We often talk about how Russia's economy is smaller than Italy's, and people don't seem to grasp that for some reason, right? But think about what that means in terms of China's economy being smaller than Japan's. What does that do to the world economy? The illusion of goods that are going to be sold in China to the Chinese people that may or may not even exist at this point. Imagine if a country the size of the United States plus Canada just evaporated from the world customer base in terms of people who can afford to buy shit. So I just wanted to float that out there and have people keep an eye out for it. And you will see, whether it's through Besant or other people, you're going to see a shift in how they view stuff that will be reflective of what I'm telling you. Their behavior is going to shift, whether they admit that what I'm saying is true or not. That's immaterial. Doesn't matter if they say it overtly, covertly, or as far as the bottom line goes, they are prepping for a world where China is no longer a player, if not a drag. Just as a heads up. And all the work we were getting, the goods we were getting cheaply by outsourcing the labor to China, all that's coming home, but it's all going to be automated. It's not going to be regular Americans working in these factories. We're not going to, the jobs that were gone because they were sent overseas, when they come back, are not going to go back to Americans. They're going to happen via automation. It's almost like we did that until such time as we could, until we could afford to move it back and just automate it. And we're going to see this over the next 3 years, especially. I don't think Trump makes it. I've told you guys before that not only is he unhealthy and stupid, but there's a very strong chance that he'll just keel over. One of the reasons why is the stress of being president of the United States. Everybody recognizes that's a real thing. Trump didn't seem to feel it last time because he's a sociopath, because he doesn't give a shit. Ultimately, he didn't care what happens to other people. So it didn't matter. It didn't age him, the sorrow and the breaking point that people would go through. He didn't care. And we're not going to war with China either. We are not. That's not what's happening. The appetite doesn't exist on either side, for real. And you could argue that they'd be so lucky to have a war to use as some way of like reinforcing their worth and their economic output. Yeah. I think the stress of the reality of what he's facing in this term is what gets him, because he's not going to be able to fix these things. As a matter of fact, I would argue Harris Wouldn't have been able to either in a couple of areas. It's just he's going to make it worse. He thinks his solutions will actually work, whereas Democrats are like, okay, we're going to have to play these solutions almost week to week, month to month. Yes, I'll cover the State of the Union tomorrow. So I want you to be aware of this. I want you to know that there are elements of this where Trump is and Doge and all these assholes are going to try everything they can, and it's not going to fucking matter. And everything he's doing, he thinks is going to solve it. And it ain't. Will it leave a scar? Not really. And again, like I said, it's going to be up to the blue states to salvage the lives of people in the United States. Should Democrats boycott the State of the Union? Nope. Let him embarrass himself. Again, the standing up and turning your back doesn't work with him at all. It's what he wants. And as a matter of fact, he gets to blame Democrats. They didn't show up. They wouldn't talk to us. They won't sit across from us. They obstructed from day one, all that kind of stuff. He'll use that as an excuse when his stuff fails. You got to let it fail on its own. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. It isn't a real State of the Union. It's his little fucking state of Trumpdom or some shit. It's just his little, like, his pretend one. It's his Mar-a-Lago SOTU or whatever. But he's going to be facing a bunch of shit, and the plans that he have aren't going to work. They're not. Now, Democrats know that no matter what you do, sometimes life can fuck with you. We're all aware of this. You can prepare as good as you can. You can batten down the hatches. You can plywood your house. You can do all that shit. But sometimes the hurricane just takes it right off the fucking foundation, and all you can do is rebuild afterwards. This is the reality. It's not sexy. It's hard to run on. It's uncomfortable, but it's true. Trump ran on the idea that he can punch the hurricane and it'll turn around and run away, and everything will be smooth sailing and easy. He ran as Santa Claus, and now he has to govern as the Grinch. And that is what's going to get him. That's what's going to get him. Because he's intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically incapable of understanding that his plans aren't going to work. Yeah, he's all stick, no carrot. I think he's all carrot with some people. He's all carrot with Putin, it seems. Or he's all over Putin's carrot, I suppose. That's a good idea, folks. I do think we can, since I went a little long, if Liberal Dan is up, hold on, let me put this in here. We'll see if we can get a raid going on him, and then I will see you guys tomorrow, and I'll cover his little phony SOTU. And but here's what I want you guys to know. We are entering a sort of a period of upheaval, not unlike 91, not unlike the end of the Vietnam War, not unlike, if you could have predicted when 9/11 actually happened, or the 2008 crash, those kind of things. If you knew those were coming a month out, and you could prep for them, wouldn't necessarily mean you'd be ready for everything that happened, because we're looking in retrospect what was awful about them. But the things you could do for yourself in that process as it happened would be immeasurably valuable. And on our way out, thank you, Yvonne Kush Queen SST, so much for this little statement she put out. It's like a really bad reality TV show. And you know how I'm always giving advice to Democrats and reporters. Number one, anytime Trump says Russia, 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 you need to start saying Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. Why won't he release all of it? He's obviously, he was friends with him for a long time. How long does he think the average American would take to figure out that Epstein's a pedophile? And why isn't it 25 years? Because that's apparently how long it took Trump. Here's my advice to to the Zelenskys of the world, my advice to Democrats, don't hire a publicist or a PR person or a messaging firm or a political firm. Don't hire one of those people to deal with Donald Trump. Here's what you need to do. You need to go find a defunct reality show, the kind that's a contest, like The Apprentice. Go find segment producers for reality shows. Hire them, and they will tell you exactly what Trump is going to do next. Walt, Trump is friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 25 years. Please fuck off. But thanks for being here. I appreciate you helping me with the algorithm. Keep defending Trump as best you can. He's a braggadocious serial sexual assaulter who bragged about being sexually attracted to his daughter. Please, just go someplace else. Try harder. You silly, dumbass child. But here's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Hire reality producers, because that's what this is. Everything he's doing is he's running it like a reality show. There's teasers and bullshit, and then there's real decisions being made, most of them just for show. And if you hire people who've worked on reality show, competition ones like Survivor and shit like that, hire those people, and they will look at what he's doing and go, I know what they're going to do. I know who's getting the rose on Sunday. I know who's going to, they will know, because that's the methodology. The whole Greenland, Canada, 51st state bullshit, that's the flashy stuff for the ads. And then the real decisions being made behind the curtain, and they'll go, yeah, they may say they're going to fire this person or get rid of this person, but they're really focused on this person. This is what they're protecting. They want this person. They want Trump to be the candidate or the character or the competitor that makes it all the way through and wins, even if the audience doesn't like them. So they're going to do this, this, and this. Yeah, the Zelensky thing was so that Trump could cover the Epstein files debacle. And it's not going to work. They're going to drag it out as much as they can. But that story will die as well. Because they can't keep interest in it long enough to dissuade people away from hold on one second, let me bring this in, to distract people long term from Epstein. Can't do it. So Liberal Dan, we're gonna raid you starting right now. I'll send people over there, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Russia. The answer is Epstein. And then again, you need to know that all this blather about Zelensky and all that kind of stuff is to cover for the Epstein stuff, and it would do everybody at MSNBC and CNN and all these places to hire people who used to work on The Apprentice. Use that as the guide. Hire them because they used to work with him. Hire them and go, what's he up to? What does this look like to you? Oh, this looks like season 3 when they were really dragging ass for ratings and people decided they didn't fucking like him. Do that. It'll work. I'm telling you. So much love. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Let me see if I can bring up my tunage, and then I'm going to run this over to our dear friend Liberal Dan. Remember, take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. There we go, and we're rating there now. Tell Liberal Dan I said hi on Twitch, everybody, and we will see you guys come the morn. Yeah, thanks for hitting that like. Do it. Do it. Hit the like. You know you wanna. Come on. Thanks, Substack people. Share that show around and share my Substack. That would be lovely of you, if you feel like it. If you don't feel like it, then thanks for being a troll and watching anyways, because you really help me out with that algorithm. I can't tell you how wonderful it is. Just wonderful. There we go. And then... There we go. And we'll roll the credits. See if that worked. Hey, look, it looks like it's working. Hey! Fantastic. Off we go.
You can't fight in here. This is a war room.
They laughed at us when we said that aliens existed, and they mocked us when we started wearing bubble wrap jumpsuits. But who's laughing now, huh? I'll tell you who's laughing now. We are! Soon we will leave this lame planet and fly through outer space with cool aliens who like us. It is going to be awesome!
Groovy.
Sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Action replays in magnified portion.
Bob Egg.
I like wood. Deeper and longer.
What? We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
Nothing's wrong.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. Jack left town.